6E04.
Here.
6E05.
Present.
6E06. 6E07.
Present.
All right, we have 5 out of 7 commissioners. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. Super duper. Okay, let me share the agenda we've had before. Let me just say before we bring this here. So we've had some removals, which is exciting. So maybe it'll be slightly shorter. I say slightly. Okay, here. Okay, we can see that there. Okay, so we have removed 310 M Street, removed 111 Massachusetts Avenue, and the traffic calming measures for 4.5 Street Northwest. I've added in the Office of Campaign Finance. They're going to be up front. They're going to do a really presentation. They were supposed to come to our last meeting, but it didn't happen. So I think that's it, gentlemen. We got it all? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Kevin. Alex, is that it? Okay. All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
it.
What's that? Oh, okay,
Seconded.
Michael seconds. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. We all said aye. We're gonna so we have 5? Okay, 5 yeses, because Karen is not with us tonight, so hence she's gonna listen to the recording. Oh, there's Frank. Hey, Frank.
How you doing?
Hi, Frank. We're happy to see you. Okay, so let's see who's here from the police. Do I have 1D on the phone? Do I have Captain Duro with us?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we have to hit approval of the. Did we?
We did-
Sorry, I don't know what's up with my brain today.
Don't
Sorry
be-
about that.
Don't be like me, Michael.
I thought that was. Anyway, let's keep going.
There can only be one loosey goosey, and that's me. So. All right, so
I'm practicing.
Captain Duro, there he is. Go ahead and move him over, Ed. Hi, Captain Duro. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Can you hear
so
me?
Yep. And so everyone, this is Captain Duro from 1D. This is the area that is south of New York Avenue.
And first thing, I don't know if you see Donegan, Lieutenant Donegan in the, he's our new lieutenant for evenings, so he'll probably be joining some meetings. I think he's in attendance. Maybe he can introduce himself if you want to move him over. But looking at stats, I'll go over real quick. Our numbers are actually looking really good. We only had a couple of violent crimes, which was down over, last year and prior periods in the last month. And property crime actually also decreased for our area. So that's things like petty theft, theft from autos, which is great because we're seeing a huge increase everywhere else in the city. But as you recall, during the pandemic, we actually saw an uptick in activity in the Mount Vernon Triangle area, which was an outlier for the city as a whole. So that's what our numbers look like. I will say theft from stolen autos are still trending upwards. So it's still the hop-ins where they're stealing from delivery drivers and people picking up, dropping off, leaving their cars running. So that's up in this area, and Mount Vernon Triangle has been a hot spot for that since day one. So we're still having an issue with that. And, similarly, citywide, we're seeing carjackings and anything involving stolen autos is still something we're keeping an eye on, something we've been working on for over a year now, but it's still a problem just in the entire region, not just in DC. So, but luckily we haven't had too many carjackings in your area, but the stolen autos are still a problem. I will go ahead and mention the homicide that happened a couple of nights ago on K Street. So for anyone that's not aware, we had a homicide in the 300 block of K Street Northwest. This was on the 3rd at about 2:30 in the morning. I just talked to the homicide captain, the director over there, and so I'm able to share a little more details. It involved a 17-year-old young man who lives in the area, in the immediate area in that block. He was engaged in a verbal altercation that involved several other individuals as well. Shots were fired by a few different parties during that altercation. He was struck and killed. All involved parties have been identified at this point, and the homicide is working on presenting a warrant now to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So we'll see which direction that goes. It's still not entirely clear, which direction the prosecution, if any, will go on this. But that's what we know on that right now.
So,
Be happy to take any questions.
so Captain, so usually I was actually looking for some sort of press release, usually for these type
Yeah.
of, I didn't see any.
I know, I just looked myself, and I actually commented to them. But I think because they have been actively investigating it up until today, and they weren't entirely sure which way the investigation, the charges were going to go. I think that's why they were holding off on it. I think, in the next day or two, they will put something out with, more details. But
Yeah, because it was a little confusing, I'll be honest with you. So.
yeah, because it was put out as shots were fired, and now there's a death investigation. But yeah, I haven't been. I was at work in the morning on the 4th, but other than that, I've been off the last few days, so I'm not exactly sure why that went down like that. But my understanding is it's because they were investigating it and seeing what kind of classification they were going to go with, and but they've been doing great work, obviously, if they've identified all the involved parties and are preparing warrants. So they have been working on it, and I think they were just holding off to, kind of wrap up that initial investigation.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Captain Duro?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Kevin.
Yes. Yep. Captain Duro? Yeah. Oh, yeah, look here, me and you just, we discussed this right here, and this is right here is the after effect. That's gonna be kind of ongoing in that neighborhood. And I would like to see more police presence at K Street, 4th and K, and in the front of 307, because it's gonna be some retaliation about, the incident. Every shooting that we have in the district of Columbia, especially in this area, it'd always be some retaliation about it. So I would like to see a little bit more police presence in the area. You think we can, kind of range that?
So we have increased, we've been giving it special attention. I've talked to some folks in the neighborhood. I'll be honest, we haven't had too many problems there up till now. So, thankfully. So I have some units looking at it. I've been told that there's some narcotics activity there. I don't know if that was related to it or not at this point. Again, I have very little information myself right now on the shooting, but like who was involved and all that hasn't been released even to me yet. So, but once I get that, I think we'll have a clearer idea of what we're looking at there. But in the meantime, we are giving it special attention. I am kind of having some guys evaluate the area, but talking to my officers that are very familiar with that corner. I mean, I know it's the grandparents' building and all that there, but really we don't have too many like problems there. We haven't, at least up till now. So, but all that being said, I hear you, and it's definitely on our radar. And as we get in more information and give the special attention, we'll give it the appropriate, we'll get the appropriate resources there. But as you know, resources are limited, and that's something we're, especially going forward, we're going to be dealing with more and more. And we have, all that to say, we'll be looking at it very carefully, and we'll put resources there as appropriate.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions for Captain Duro? Patrick?
Yep. Hey, Captain Duro, could you push us that press release when it does come out, when you first get wind of it? If you could just send it to the commission, that'd be really helpful.
Sure, yeah, I'll keep an eye. I don't see them myself a lot of the time, I'll be honest, but I'll keep an eye out for it and get that out to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so no other questions from the commissioners. Let me open it up to the public. So this is for, if you have a question for Captain Duro from 1D, this is the area that is south of New York Avenue. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. I see Miss Johnson. I'm not sure, Miss Johnson, you think you've had your hand. Ed, do you want to do this part so we don't? Do you want to move Miss Johnson over?
Bitch, don't come fucking popping behind the wall like that.
Miss Johnson? Miss Johnson, do you have a question for Captain Duro?
I'm the outreach coordinator for 1D. Can you hear me now?
Oh, hey, okay, hi.
Hey,
You don't have a
hi.
question for Captain, you know Captain Duro, okay.
Yes, yes, I do. He didn't know I was on, but I just wanted to come on and introduce myself. My name is Lyndia Johnson. I'm a reinstatement from 7D. I've been on working for MPD since 2004. And before that, I was at the mayor's office for about 5 years with Anthony Williams. So I've been assigned to 1D. I'll be here till about December, January. And I just wanted to highlight two things. One is National Night Out, which is going to be August the 3rd from 5 to 8 at Lincoln Park, 13th and East Capitol Street. There's a lot of fun activities being planned. So we're asking all of our PSAs to rally their communities and bring folks to the event from 5 to 8 on Tuesday, August the 3rd. And finally, my other thing that the chief has asked us to spread the word that MPD is recruiting DC residents ages 17 to 24 to serve as MPD cadets. They get a paid education, 2 years at UDC while working MPD, and the salary starts at $34,432. So just wanted to bring that to your attention and see how I can help and take notes to take back if I can.
Okay, great. Thank you. We appreciate you zooming in with us.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't you move her back over, and then we're gonna have Adrian and Joe moved in. Because they have a question for. Hi, Adrian and Joe, you have a question for Captain Duro?
Yes, thank you so much. Me and my wife just moved to the area. Captain Duro, I admit that I'm more ignorant about this than I should be, but you mentioned when one of the other gentlemen asked if more police officers could be assigned to the area where the shooting happened, at least temporarily, you said that you cited a lack of resources. What lack of resources exactly? I'm open that I'm ignorant about this, but could you expand on that a little bit, please?
Sure. So we've maintained a manpower of around 3,800 for the 3,800 officers citywide for the last few years, about the last decade, I think. And we've always been trying to get to about 4,000 has been the goal for us to be fully staffed with what we feel like we need to provide, not only the services in the neighborhood, but all the other services we provide. As you know, we're not a state, so we have all the state police functions as well. All the investigative services, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot that we do that comes from that 4,000 number. That being said, we have not hired in about a year now, and we are also facing budget cuts. And it's been proposed that our manpower be reduced to 3,500 or even lower, depending on which proposal you're looking at. So we are in a situation where we are working with less manpower than we have in years now, and we're looking at that, continuing to go down that road for a while now, because even once we do start rehiring, it's going to be a while, obviously, before we can get folks through the academy, get them their field training, and get them out on the street to patrol, on their own as fully certified officers. that process usually takes about a year in itself. So, you know, that being said, that's where we're at. We're still getting the job done. The city has instituted or is in the process of looking at a lot of other kind of solutions to help us with our workload. During the pandemic, we've come to rely much more on telephone reporting, for example. We now have the community response team with Department of Behavioral Health has just in the last, I think, couple of weeks started taking 911 calls to assist us with some of the calls we get for mental health consumers, which is a huge burden on our resources, especially in your area and in your ANC's area. So there's a couple of things we're looking at, but the bottom line is that we're just working with less officers. Our attrition has stayed about steady, but we lose, you know, probably I think it's like 30 to 40 officers a month just through regular attrition. So that's where we're at. And like I said, there's a lot of proposals before the city's commission. So before city council, there you go. So, you know, I'd encourage you, if you have any feelings on the matter, you know, make them heard, because right now we're looking at less officers on the street. That's just the reality of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and move Adrian and Joe out, Ed, and then I see Dean Hunter has his hand raised. Dean, Ed will move you in. Oh, there's Denise. Okay, Ed, I'm going to move Denise in because she just zoomed in on the other side.
While we're doing that, I will reiterate that plug for cadets. We need good folks. We need good officers. You know, I was a DC resident myself for a while before I ever even thought about joining the department. So I just saw a need.
Okay,
I just saw a need there. So
we have Mr. Hunter here.
Know
Mr. Hunter,
anyone?
do you have a question for Captain?
Yes, I do. I specifically want to speak to the issue of the budget cuts because this is a serious matter. Could you elaborate more on that? It's been my understanding that the mayor and the council have been in a battle over the size of the police force, and that the council Judiciary Committee, led by Ward 6 Councilmember Charles Allen, has decided to reduce the number of officers available to the city. I understand that police officers are retiring. Capitol Police are hiring. What is exactly going on with this battle, and how will it impact us as it relates to the ability to deploy in the ANC?
Captain Drow, before you respond to that, I think that's a question that's much better addressed by Councilmember Allen's office. I'd really prefer that the MP not step into these types of political budgetary discussions at the ANC meeting.
If he has an opinion, I'd like to hear it. I mean, it would be up to him if he didn't want to say anything, Alex.
well, I was going to say that I can't comment on political issues. You know, we don't take a kind of political stance. I will just give you the facts, which is what I already relayed, is that when we were at 3,800 officers, we felt comfortable with our mission and completing it. And I think the goal of 4,000 is something that the mayor has stated in the past, and something we were working towards, and that now we're well below that. So that will mean, you know, diminished capabilities for us. That's just a reality. That's not a political opinion. That's just the reality of where we're at. Yeah, I won't get into, like I said, there's various proposals. I encourage you to take a look at them, to be involved. We need engaged citizens more than anything else. So, you know, take a look at it, educate yourself, and I'll be happy to be a resource. But I can't give an opinion on the political, you know, dialogue.
Well, it's not. I'm not asking for a political opinion. Just the facts on the numbers versus. It's okay. Thank you, Alex. All right.
Okay, Mr. Hunter, thank you for your question. Go ahead, Ed, move them back over. This is last call for 1D. If you have a question for Captain Duro, press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone else for Captain Duro? Going once. Go. Oh, Denise. Denise, you're gonna mute yourself. Go ahead, Denise. You get to go.
How y'all doing?
Okay.
My question for Captain Duro, it's more like just informing you of a senior that gave me a call today that lives on the unit block of M Street, where the officer is kind of stationed at. She shared that, you know, why do all the young guys get to hang right there by her unit and all over her car? And she said she thinks someone was lighting fireworks in her windowsill.
And okay, well, that's something we've discussed, you know, many times, those types of situations. You know, as you know, it's very confrontational out there. There's no loitering law. They're allowed to hang out. We can't be everywhere all the time. The fireworks is something we deal with every year. I think we did a pretty good job this year, actually, kind of getting the word out. And in my impression, at least, it was a little better than last year. So, you know, hopefully we're moving in the right direction on that. But again, calling 911 if someone's on your car, I know they're hesitant to do that, but you know, unless we're going to go out and kind of confront people and is that your car? And we do some of that, but you know how confrontational that can get real quick. So it's on a case by case basis. But if you want to send me the information, we can talk about that specifically. About that specific
Okay,
instance.
I'd appreciate that because you know they fear retaliation, but sure, we can talk offline.
Yeah.
Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Captain Duro. We'll see ya. Okay, Ed, why don't you move Captain Duro over and looking for Lieutenant Daye from 3D. Press *9 or raise your hand. Lieutenant Daye is supposed to be, or maybe it's not Lieutenant. I was told Lieutenant Daye. Who's anyone here for 3D? Anyone? Maybe not. Okay, well, we'll get back. Hopefully Lieutenant Daye will call in for 3D. Okay, let's move on to Talib from the mayor's office. Press *9 or raise your, there he is. Ed will move you over. Hi, you can unmute yourself. Hi, go ahead and unmute yourself. No.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, finally I'm on. Good evening.
Ray.
Yeah, so there's a lot to update in the last month. So I want to start with 10th and French, 9th and French Street. I know there's been a problem there with arsonists, with fires being lit at that corner. We responded to an incident there maybe 2 weeks ago or so, where there was neighbors who were moving out of a location, out of a house there, and they were putting their trash or dumpings at the corner, and there was someone who was coming by igniting that stuff and doing it in the wee hours of the morning. So we responded to that. We got DPW in to do a cleanup crew. Me and the other Ward 6 marker at the time, we went out there. We met with Tom. We loaded what we could into our truck. We contacted DPW. They came out there and they cleaned up the rest of the stuff that we couldn't get. And then it happened again. So we've been monitoring that, working with MPD on that to try to figure out who this arsonist is to deal with that issue. And hopefully we can get that dealt with soon, because it was definitely an unsafe situation for everybody at that location. Also, I know Commissioner Eichler has been reporting, he's been very good at reporting illegal dumping. We went through that site, me and the new Ward 6 smoker, Kevin Pham, he's on the call now. He can introduce himself at some point. We went through there today. We talked to DCRA about the school, trying to get those abandoned vehicles off of that lot, trying to get that illegal dumping dealt with. Right now, we kind of like at a standstill because the recommendation was to remove the trash can from that corner. And I don't know if that's going to help. I don't know if that's going to help or not. So we's talking to DPW to ask them, like, are there any alternatives to removing the trash can with like increasing fines, really like targeting neighbors who are illegally dumping into that trash can at that corner. So we've been working with that. We did respond to a shooting that happened a couple weeks ago with a juvenile and a female. with just non-life threatening wounds that they suffer from. But we've been working with them to try to figure out, who was involved with that and what can we do to provide wraparound services. We've done that as well. I know me and Commissioner Niagara, we did a walk a few weeks ago on that 6th and M Street to get some cleaning done, some street cleaning done at that corridor between M and New York Avenue. We've seen DPW go out there, but we need to get the neighbors more involved with moving their vehicles out of the way so they can kind of get most of the debris that's the debris that's kind of like sitting on the side of the curb. So we're working and talking to DPW with that. Those are like the immediate issues. So we're trying to really work on that illegal dumping. I went through there today. I noticed that the one resident who was there right along Seton Elementary School, I think she's gone now. I don't know where she's gone. So we're trying to reach out to DMHHS to figure out where she's been at, where she's gone to, where she's located at. But it seems that she's moved from that location. So hopefully that will kind of clear up the issue with the parking space and entering, exiting vehicles right where she had her property at. So we've been working on those issues as well. Those are some of the immediate things that the Morkers have been working with. The mayor's office has been trying to work with to try to engage to deal with those things there. I am a little concerned about that the removal of the trash can at that corner. Because if you remove that trash can at that corner, I know the Commissioner Eckler has pointed out several issues with illegal dumping, a renewal of trash cans in that area. So it's a matter of figuring out what's the best way to deal with that issue without actually removing the trash can from that corner. And so that's what I've been working on for the latter part of the day.
Okay, great.
Look forward to this. That's
All right.
pretty much all we have from my office. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for your work in the community. That's great. Any questions for Talib from the commissioners?
Frank.
Yes, sir.
I got a call today from one of my constituents, but I really think the problem is I think it's 6E02 at the Metro bus stop. I think someone has taken over the seating area for people who want to catch the bus. And they put up sheets and kind of encamped out of that corner. But I wanted to say something. I think she called Metro. Metro said that wasn't their responsibility. So I think it might be DDOT.
Yeah, it is. I was out this morning at 6 a.m. and I noticed that there's right at that corner at that bus stop, somebody has encamped there. And that's kind of an issue that I'm flagging up to senior leadership, because when it comes to Mawada, we don't have as much Georgia district as people may think that we have, right?
Okay.
So it's really like coordinating with them to either. So what eventually happened? Yeah.
If I could jump in here, I actually have some information on.
Okay, I would like to
ask on this. Yeah, I've been in contact with DMHHS and DHS about the individual at the bus stop. There is a cleaning scheduled, I believe, for July 14th. And DHS is working with the individual to try and connect him or her with appropriate services or housing in advance of that cleanup.
Right. So I just want to add to that, because I know Alex, you've been very involved with that in Jersey and Old Street. So what we've been monitoring is like the movement of the residents in that encampment to other places in the ward. Right. So we've noticed there's been an uptake around Union Station. So as people are moving out of that encampment, they move into the Union Station and find other locations. So I've personally have been like out and about looking like where people at to keep DMHHS and like in the process, like people are moving out of New Jersey. And, oh, this is where they're landing at in these different locations. So let's continue the services in these locations. We've seen uptick in neighbors experience homelessness at Union Station, at bus stops such as this 9th and P Street. So I definitely like they are engaged, and the Morkers are engaged, and it's a slow process, but we're definitely trying to keep track of how this displacement is happening throughout the ward in that particular area with the closure of that park in the upcoming months.
Okay.
So yeah.
So any commissioners have any other questions for Tilly before I open up to the community?
Yeah, I'll just chime in real quick. Tell a bit. Thank you for the updates on the variety of things that seem to all be centering in 6001 here, the 9th and French arson twice, the encamped individual along the 900 block of P Street, the very frequently dumped at the garbage can at the corner of 8th and Q Northwest. I will just note, probably, I engaged you earlier today just about that particular issue and noted that, yeah, the neighbors are done with it. They're done picking up other people's, spilled dog poop bags off of the ground because people come and dump trash bags and the people put the dog poop on top. And, we wrote a letter to the director of the DPW recently. We invited a dialogue. We talked about opportunities for finding creative solutions. We asked for enforcement. We asked for visibility of DPW employees walking around with vests, passing out flyers. We haven't seen any of that. I think the time for mitigating the issue with information and leaflets is over, and we're ready for this garbage can to be removed. It's in the middle of a residential neighborhood. The truck has to back down a one-way street loudly, unsafely, at midnight every night in order to empty the can. If the dumping ends up happening elsewhere, it'll at least be better than where it's happening now, and it'll cause some friction, and people have to walk a little further to dump their trash illegally in a corner bin. So anything that you can do to provide short-term solutions to this situation here for my constituents would really be appreciated.
Well, as of right now, the talk is about removing the trash into that corner. That's
Great.
The discussion is removing that trash can. We looked at the photos, we saw the photos, we looked at the photos, it's been flagged, we talked about it in meetings. So the only solution that is currently being discussed is removal of that trash can, and how is that going to look? So I don't have a timeline, but I can just say that the discussion is surrounding around removing that trash can at that.
Sure. And I would invite the team to put like a big cardboard box over it for a week that says this trash can is being removed because you're abusing it, right? And like put your garbage in your bin, right? Like we need to tell people that this is happening because of their behavior. And we can tell people that the trash can has been grounded for bad behavior, whatever it is. We're well past time for a softer solution.
Right. So that's the conversation that's happening right now, and I would definitely keep the ANC, informed and updated with Commissioner Niagara. Like, hey, this is the timeline, and it's being removed, and it's not being removed, or whatever. I would talk to you about it. We can discuss it, but the conversation right now is removal of that trash can at that corner.
Great, and I'm not against education. I'm not against positive and negative reinforcement. I love all of those things. We've asked for all of those things, and we haven't seen them. Right? We haven't seen flyers. We haven't seen fines. So feel free to use those tools. Also, we're definitely encouraging you to do that. But in the meantime, I think we're done.
All right. So let's open up to the community. Any questions? Oh, Frank.
Talib, the previous smoker, she had a habit of contacting us whenever there was a shooting in our neighborhood. There's been 2 shootings that I was not aware of. I was made aware of by constituents, but I wasn't in the immediate area when it happened. So I didn't see the collection of officers and yellow ticker tape and all of that. But can we continue to get some type of communication that a shooting took place in the neighborhood so we're made aware of it?
Yes, and like Officer Duro said, so when we got the report of the shooting, it was just a shooting. It wasn't a homicide yet. And so our policy is to inform the ANC commissioners and that SMD of any shootings or anything that has occurred in that area. That's our policy. And that still stands. so it was so a shooting and shots fired, very different things. So if somebody may call say, hey, there was a shooting, and then there's no report on my end that somebody was actually shot or there was a homicide that occurred. And so because of that, I've already noted that with our senior leadership, and I was definitely going to reach out to Commissioner Nigro today with sending the information to all the ANCs in that SMD or around that SMD that, hey, a homicide occurred in that in that area or in that location. So that is our policy, and that will continue moving forward. You don't have to, that will.
Philip, so are you saying you're doing this now or you're going to do it?
No, so we do it now, but like I know.
When do you do this? When do you do this? I'm a little confused. I don't do this.
Most of the time when there's a shooting or incident, I send you an email. I send you an email, and I will CC everyone in that ANC that a shooting or homicide had occurred, and that if anyone has any information, here's the number MPD, here's the text number. I would do that, right? But I can't provide any details as to as to the actual occurrence, because I don't know. That's MPD, so I can just notify the ANC that, hey, there was an event, there was a critical incident that happened in this SMD, and it's our policy to reach out and let people know that it happened. So with the latest,
I'm going to pause you. Mm-hmm. There was the murder in Kevin's. I didn't get an email from you, and there were the shootings in my SMD last week. I didn't get an email from you. So here's what I'm going to give you some advice to everyone in this commission. What I do, because I'm known for getting the facts like ASAP, is Twitter, right? The police Twitter feed, and these guys, Alan and Larry, I'll hook you up, Frank. And then I call the watch commander for either 1D or 3D for confirmation. So Talib, if you say that's going to be your policy, I'm going to expect emails in the future.
Okay, you will. So I've seen all your Twitter. I've seen all your Twitter.
Well, that information doesn't come from you. I get that on my own.
No. So the tweets were at the Northwest Co-op, right? I was there, but because it wasn't a homicide,
I was there. I didn't see you.
No. I saw your tweets. When I saw your tweets at the Northwestern Co-op, I saw the tweet, right? When I got the tweet, and I did what I had to do on my end with my senior leadership, with reporting to the people who I report to, and I went to the scene of the crime.
Okay, so I'm not going to wait. We're going to waste any more time on this. So the thing is, we're going to expect emails from you in the future. Okay.
You will have an email.
Okay, very good, excellent. Okay, any questions from the community for Talib from the mayor's office? Press *9, or if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature.
Commissioner Nigro, I just want to correct something for the record. I misspoke earlier. The DMHHS will conduct an encampment cleanup at the bus stop at 7th and P on Thursday, July 22nd. I misspoke about the date earlier.
Sounds good. Thank you for the correction. Okay, any questions for the mayor's office? Last 1, 2, 3, last call. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lib. We'll see those emails, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. Okay. So I'm going to call out. Ed, you want to move him over? Captain or Lieutenant Gaye or anyone from 3D now on the call. Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone from 3D? Anyone? Okay, that would be a no. Okay, moving on. So is Naomi from Council Member Allen's office on the call? Naomi Mitchell, press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Naomi Mitchell, are you on the call? Okay, we'll check back with her. I don't see Naomi. Okay, so this I'm going to see. I want to see if April Jackson is on the, I don't think she's on the call yet. No, it's a little bit too early for April. April's going to be coming in probably at 7:30. So we're going to move on. So we're ready we're moving on to the bike lane, Alex and Michael. Bike lane time. Who am I calling out?
Okay, you'll need to move over Mike Goodnow.
Mike Goodnow. So Mike Goodnow, raise your hand. Mike Goodnow, press *9, or there's Mike, okay.
George Branyan.
George, anyone else?
Andrew DeFrank, I believe that's it.
Mr. DeFrank, raise your hand. Mr. DeFrank. There we go. Okay, Ed, go ahead and move them over. Okay, great, awesome. So for the gentlemen that were just moved over by Ed, you have the ability to, if you want to present something, to share your screen, please do that. You have the ability to unmute yourself too. Hi, George. Hi,
Hello,
Mr.
good evening.
Frank. Hi, Mike. I guess we don't see Mike's picture. Hi, Mike. Oh, hi, Mike.
Hello, good to see
Okay,
everyone.
Does anyone have a presentation for this?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Thank you for having us. I will share my screen. And
Okay, so-
I think you have a long agenda tonight, so I will try to go swiftly. Is that?
Yep, and then who wants to tee this up? Commissioner Eichler?
Sure. So yeah, we are receiving a presentation this evening from DDOT updating us on the status of the 9th Street Protected Bicycle Lane project as part of the current version of the Eastern Downtown Protected Bike Lane project from a handful of years ago. The mayor committed, I believe it was last month, as part of her FY21 budget to construct this project. And at the TAC meeting last week, we had an update from the DDOT team, and we are excited to share the status update with the rest of the ANC.
All right, so I need permission from the host to share my
Oh,
screen.
wait, did I say that I did it right? I'm sorry. Boop.
That's all right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. All right, I think we got the right one here. All right. All right, thank you for having us. Yes, as Commissioner Eichler said, we presented last week at the Transportation Committee and had a good discussion, a lot of good questions. Mike is my backup on this. I manage the active transportation branch. Before I did that, I was managing, this was my project before it was put on hold back in 2018. And so now that it's back on by the mayor's announcement, then I am also picking it back up as my project. Quickly, the agenda of the presentation is to talk a little bit about DDOT's bikeway program, the project planning background, some project history, and some key project features and benefits and impacts. And I have some plans to show, and then some timelines, or the timeline for next steps. I found a picture of 9th Street in 1915, which I thought was interesting because it has someone on a bike and another person with a bike parked, a couple cars, no horses. Yeah, there's a horse in front of that wagon. So it's very multimodal then, and it will be more multimodal in the future.
Hi, George. Right now you're showing up in presenter mode where we see your next slide and your current slide all on the screen at the same time. Can you adjust that so we just get the full picture?
How do I do that?
Display settings, top center.
Okay. What do I? New share?
I believe above the middle of the current slide, there's a thing that says display settings.
Oh, okay, hang on. Display. Oh, okay, got it. So
yeah, hit the swap button.
Swap. Is that better?
Thank
you. Every platform is different. I get very confused. Thanks. So some people do ask the question, why bike lanes? And first of all, I note that bike lanes may be used by scooters, skateboards, electric wheels of all kinds, which from my experience working in the community is very good, especially in the mid-city area, because those vehicles on sidewalks that are narrow are very difficult for pedestrians. So we want skateboards, scooters, electric wheels of all kinds to use protected bike lanes. They are safer, they reduce transportation costs, and they're good for exercise and health. They actually are great for tourism. You see a lot of people on the Capitol bike shares going around town, reduce CO2, and they actually reduce wear and tear on the transportation infrastructure. And the more people ride bikes, generally we see fewer people on cars, riding or driving in cars. This is going planned to be a protected bike lane, and sorry, I'm trying to put this thing up here. There's a couple examples there pictured of what a protected bike lane is. If someone watching is not familiar, that is some type of a protected or separated bike lane with a barrier of some kind. Could be flex posts and wheel stops. It could be something more substantial like the lower left, which was a pretty big involved project up at 15th in New Hampshire. Now, why do we like these protected bike lanes versus the old-fashioned regular bike lanes? Well, they're a lot safer. They have a physical protection, a physical barrier between you and fast-moving heavy vehicles. And because of that, it allows more people to bike, more people who are on that left side of the green box in the slide. You can see this group called Interested but Concerned. That represents over 50% of people who would like to bike, but they're just not comfortable riding with traffic or only in a bike lane separated by a little bit of white paint. Over the years, we've gone from sort of providing facilities that are pretty good for the highly confident and the somewhat confident, but not for the interested but concerned group. And the highly confident, you can see, is only about 4 to 7% of the population. The other reason we want to do this is that we are trying to reach a sustainability goal of 75% of all trips by walking, biking, or transit by 2032. That's the DC sustainability goal. Right now we're at about 50%. So we need to pull in another 15% of people to take walking, biking, or transit. So this is an important component of that. The planning background for this project was the area of Eastern Downtown was shown in our Move DC, our long-range multimodal plan from 2016. It was not specifically identified. A different corridor, 2 different streets were identified, but in the update, which is out now, the 9th Street corridor is shown to be a protected bike lane corridor. It was studied in depth among all the other north-south streets between 4th and 9th in the 2017 study called the Eastern Downtown Protected Bike Lane Feasibility Study, which you can Google and find that online. I won't go into all the details, but it started in 2015 with that big Eastern Downtown study. They narrowed it down. And in 2018, we sent the mayor a decision memo where we laid out the reasons we thought that 9th Street was the best of all the corridors. Well, it was the best between 6th and 9th, which was the 2 that was the 2 finalists in this feasibility study of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then it was put on hold. And then it was in late May, it was announced by the mayor that we will start this back up again. And so that's one of the main reasons we were here, trying to inform the community about this project. A lot of people asked during the, or there were questions at the Transportation Committee about like, what are all the factors that we use to pick this corridor? I can't go into the 40 or 50 pages of the feasibility study, but this is a fairly busy matrix. I apologize, it's very busy, but I'll just draw attention to the bottom row is number 4 is the 9th Street with a protected bike lane on the east side. And it tended to do much better on all those factors, whether it's continuous for bikes, the number of conflicts at turning at intersections with turning vehicles, potential pedestrian conflicts, the impact on traffic congestion that might be caused by finding room for this bike lane, large event space conflicts, street parking, and then Sunday angled parking. And this one did the best out of all of them. So that is why it was chosen as the best Eastern Downtown corridor. So at the previous meeting, there was a little bit of confusion looking at the plan view. So I pulled these out of that report, which these sort of mock-ups of illustrations of what the bike lane would look like. So drawing your attention to the left side where my cursor is, this is existing. This is what 9th Street looks like north of Mass Ave. It's a two-way street with 2 lanes in each direction and parking or loading. And some of that is turned into back-in angle parking on both sides, depending on which church you're near. The proposed configuration is on the right. It would essentially push the parking out from the east curb and float the parking lane, as you've seen on many of the protected bike lanes that we have, especially 15th Street. Same idea. It's a two-way, what we call a cycle track, a type of protected bike lane that's two-way on one side of the street or sometimes down the middle like Pennsylvania Avenue. And as you can see, what we're taking here, the room for that protected bike lane comes from one of the northbound lanes. And the reason it is configured that way is that 9th Street north of Mass Avenue, its two-way section up to U Street, has much more southbound traffic than northbound traffic, partly because it's one way south of Mass, but these are just sort of the patterns that the roadway has. So it's what we were able to do is move all the cars northbound in that one lane with very, very little negative impact. We're looking at maybe, I think, an entire corridor increase in about 4 minutes of travel time. So that is where the room comes from to put the protected bike lane. So the bike lane is on the east side of the street. The parking is moved out. There's a buffer so that if you open your car door, you don't hit a cyclist. And then there's one northbound travel lane, then two southbound travel lanes, just as it is today, and then parking on the west side, just as it is today. This, of course, is the section south of Mass, which is not in this area, but just for your information, it's the same kind of thing. We move the parking out from the east curb and put the bike lane in. And there are still, what we're typically doing there to maintain the 3 southbound lanes for the AM peak, which is the heaviest traffic time, is to make the parking, which right now is full-time parking on the west side, it will become rush hour restricted parking. So you can park there in the middle of the day and the evenings, but not during rush hour. So we maintain the vehicle flow and still have parking on the east side and the bike lane. Sorry, this is a very busy slide, but I just wanted to go through some of the key features and talk about some of the impacts of these things. So safety and continuity of the bike facility is a key factor we're always looking for when we work on a corridor. Right now, we have a very high stress and unsafe biking condition. What it would be in the future is 1.6 miles of protected bike lane, one of the longest in the city. And 6 out of 6 heavy turning movements will be protected or prohibited. Most of them will be protected, meaning you'll get an arrow as a car when it's time to make your left turn. When you get your green arrow, the bikes don't move, the peds don't move, and the cross traffic is not moving. So we are able to control those turns so they don't present a hazard to cyclists or pedestrians. And that will actually improve pedestrian safety as well. The level of service, meaning sort of the measure of congestion or traffic delay, is actually getting better in the southbound direction in the mid-city area. That's because we're adding some turn pockets. Whereas right now there are 3 morning and 2 evening approaches that are level service ERF, which means there's a little bit of congestion, a decent amount of congestion. We're going to have 2 intersections with an E in the peak hour. All the intersections will be at LOSD or better. So as I mentioned, southbound during the AM peak will actually decrease travel time from 11 to about 8 minutes. And that is due to the addition of a number of turn lanes. Right now, the street does not have any dedicated turn pockets. We are adding 10 of those. Those will allow left-turning vehicles to get out of the stream of traffic. Right now, you get a lot of rear end and side swipe crashes because someone stops to take a left turn at any of these cross streets that you can turn left on, and then someone finds themselves behind that and they try to move over into the right lane abruptly and often don't look and either hit the car in front or bump into the car to the right. So that's an important safety improvement for car drivers. Parking, of course, is a major concern. There are some parking impacts, but as I said, compared to the other corridors in the study in the area in the eastern downtown area, this had the least amount of parking impact. First of all, just looking at the entire study area of that eastern downtown study, there are 1,800 parking spaces between 9th and 4th and Pennsylvania and Florida and U. So in this case, we know that we're going to lose 5 resident-only parking spaces, and that was from a change where we added a left turn pocket, and that is going to cause those spaces to be removed, and they will be the spaces are there, but they'll be turned into a pickup and drop off or Shiloh daycare center, because they have a pickup and drop off area now, but the turn pocket pushes it north and into the resident parking area. There are at least 4 RPP. We think there may be a few more of those, and we can get, as we get into more detailed design, we'll have exactly the numbers. South of Mass, 20 metered spaces that are full-time now will be converted to peak hour. Overall, on the full corridor right now, we are looking at 76 metered spaces being removed completely on the full corridor. As it comes, the Sunday back-in angle, which is about 117 spaces right now, it is switching from the east side to the west side for New Bethel parishioners, with roughly 1-to-1, but maybe one less space, 59 versus 60. Shiloh Baptist Church has completely unchanged because they're on the side of the street that isn't being impacted by the bike lane. And so they have 57 spaces now back in angle on Sunday, and they will continue to have those. And then the other major stakeholder that we have had a meeting with is Convention Center, and we're working with them on their routing, so we can make sure that we accommodating the truck as well as staging areas for large trucks on 9th Street. So we have designed actually a 9-foot wide parking lane that they can use to stage either semi trucks, which they sometimes have a backup of semi trailers for large events or multiple events that need to be loaded, and as well as the shuttles when they have extra shuttles or buses for events. They can take that 9-foot parking lane, and these large vehicles will fit in that dimension and not stick out and block the lane. All right, so that was a lot to cover. This is the overview of the existing above and the proposed plan below. This is N Street to P Street. So you can see from this that the parking on the west side remains the same as it is today, but on the east side, it's pushed out. And this is where we lose some of those spaces, is that when you have the protected bike lane right here by these 2 driveways, you have to pull the parking back further than it would be if it was up against the curb, so that someone pulling out here can look for a bicyclist first and then also see traffic cars coming. And so that is an important safety feature, but it does remove a few parking places on the approach typically, or a little bit on both sides, but usually more on the approach lane than going away. Then moving into P to Rhode Island. Now you can see the outline of the angled parking, Sunday angle parking, that is completely unchanged from what it is today. But you can see the turn pocket here that is put in for, for P Street. So that, because the width of the roadway is what it is, we don't have the ability to have the parking plus the bike lane plus the extra turn lane, just too wide. So we have to push the parking further up. So this area here is going to be where the pick up and drop off will be for the Shiloh daycare center, which is right there. Moving north from Rhode Island up to S. This is where the back-in angle parking that New Bethel Baptist Church has will be moved to the west side and extended a bit. So this allows them to keep back-in angle parking and just be on the other side of the street. And the bike lane is on the east side here. They still have access to the driveway. And then moving north for the last 2 blocks from S to U. Again, a turn pocket put in at S Street, also a turn pocket at T. And then this last block here was a difficult one, because when we first mocked it up because it has to have two turn pockets, one to take a left onto U Street and one to take a left onto T. There was if we kept two southbound lanes, we just had very little room for parking. I think we were down to like 3 parking spaces just because of the tapers. Again, the roadway was just about 4 feet wider. This would all fit, but it's just, this is the road we have to work with. So we came up with this plan that makes the west side, these light green parking spaces, which will be metered, but they will be rush hour restricted. So that way we can keep the 2 southbound lanes, which are needed for peak hour traffic. And then they tie into the 2 southbound lanes that go all the way down to the convention center. And that allows us to put back to have at least 10 parking spaces in this last block. I know that's not a great thing to some of the folks in the businesses who depend on the parking, but it will be, I assume we will have it till 6, you'll be able to park at 6:30. So it won't be a restriction past 6:30. And then I want to draw your attention to a couple of other things that we have done. If you can see where I'm circling my cursor here at T Street, these are raised concrete refuge islands that are lined up with the floating parking lane. And they will be a pedestrian safety benefit because they will be raised concrete islands, and you can cross the bike lane if no bikes are coming, and then wait for the signal, and then you'll be able to come across the street much more quickly. These also have shown in other cities where they've used them to slow turning vehicles, to also slow down just vehicles in general, and especially turning vehicles, and create much safer streets for pedestrians as well as bicyclists. So we're putting those in wherever we're able to as we move forward with this design. All right, the last.
Are you almost done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, this is
All right.
last slide. Yeah, thank you. Last slide is just to talk about the timeline. We are going to continue community outreach during the summer and probably into the early fall. I have put in a request for a Thursday, July 29th open house, a virtual open house. We are not yet cleared for in-person meetings hosted by DDOT, that is. We are going, Mike and I are actually going to a meeting of the 9th Street Business Association tomorrow in person to show these plans and answer questions. We're making final refinements to 30% design by the end of the summer. And then another team in DDOT will pick this up and take the plans to final design. We'll probably put a notice of intent out to the ANCs. There are 4 different ANCs that cover this corridor, hopefully in late fall. And right now, construction budget and contracts dependent, but we believe we can begin construction in the summer, and it'll probably take a couple months to construct. So that is my presentation. Thank you.
Great. You want to go ahead and stop sharing your screen, George?
Sure. Okay, there we go.
Okay, great. So commissioners, if you want to keep your comments tight, so we have plenty of time for the community if they have questions. Do commissioners have any concerns or questions?
I
Yes,
will
I
just,
do.
oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, look, this just dropped in my lap. But as I see it, these bike lanes starting off at Florida Avenue and it's gonna go all the way down to about maybe Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
I don't see security in the in y'all project. People like myself in wheelchairs and stuff that really have to, catch the bus to get to one side of the street to the other, or even they all have their own transportation, have to get one street to the other. Where is y'all accessibility for that range in that area?
Well, first of all, the buses are on the other side of the street, so we're not impacting the bus stops at all on the west side of the street. So the bus accessibility for disabled bus riders will remain the same. As we've done with our K Street project, we will wherever there are handicap spaces now, we will have ADA compliant spaces designed into this. We have a way to do that, and we will make sure that any ADA spaces that exist now will be designed into the project.
So y'all finished the study on all this? The impact study that y'all did on this, right? Y'all, is this it, or y'all have to do more study?
No, the study is done. We're in design now, and we're in outreach with the community to get feedback so that we can make sure the design as it moves forward meets the needs, and that we bring in as many mitigations to try to make sure that it is as good a project as it can be.
You know, because I noticed when we did the walkthrough on K Street, right? Y'all just, you know, it brought to my attention that they was gonna put a ramp there and do some changes in the structure of the bike lanes, because when a bus comes to pick up a person or anyone, they have to walk out in the street to get on the bus, and that raised a question for me. That's very dangerous. It's like a train wreck ready to happen. So I'm really concerned about that, Frank. I'm really concerned because, you know,
I'm glad you brought up, yeah, Mr. Rogers, you're right. We actually have these new bus platforms that are coming for K Street. They just arrived from Spain. They're a special modular bus platform. And so at several of the bus stops that you're talking about on K Street, where exactly the bus has a real hard time getting over to the curb, they will actually just move a little bit to the right, and then there's going to be this bus platform that's flush with the sidewalk. So anyone with mobility impairment can just roll right out and get on the bus. The bus can use the ramp. We have we're ordering many of those for our protected bike lane projects that have bus stops on them. But as I said, this location does not have any bus stops impacted by the bike lane, because the bike lane's on the other side of the street.
Okay. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hey, I've got a question as well. Thank you for your presentation. Last time that, where I should say, when you presented this at the Transportation Committee, there were a few calls outs of pickup drop-off zones. Has anything changed? Are those still in the plan?
Yeah, we in fact, that's one of the things we're going to talk tomorrow with the 9th Street Businesses Association and Shaw Main Street, because we're doing this on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast. We had some very specific conversations with businesses about where, if the loading that is there now is simply accommodated in the bike lane plan, is that enough, or do you need more loading or in a different place? This is the chance to refine the loading, the pickup and drop off zones and the loading to make it work even better, since we're going to be rearranging the signage and the parking. That's the time to do it. So yeah, so we will do that.
So let me offer this. So I represent 6E05, which includes the 400 block of K Street. So obviously the new K Street bike lane is a big thing. It's created a lot of buzz in the community. And one of the observations that I have is essentially pickup drop-off zones are treated like permanent parking spaces. I think people they don't understand maybe the intent behind pickup drop-off zones. There isn't a time limit noted next to the pickup drop-off zone area. And so we're seeing that people are just parking there, and there isn't any meaningful enforcement to really to remove them or to fine them or to ticket them or to make them aware that they shouldn't do that. And conversations with DPW are like, well, you know, there isn't an official policy. DDOT says we can't put a time limit on these signs. So it seems like there's a little bit of, you know, no one really wants to take ownership of that question of, you know, these pickup drop-off zones. And I would go as far as to say that they're just simply not working for K Street for my district. So I just want to make that comment and ask you, you know, what plan does DDOT have to make sure that pickup drop-off zones for this bike lane, for bike lanes across ANC 6E, you know, how do we make them work? What steps can we take?
No, you brought up a very a good point and a very troublesome one. I was just looking at an email from David Lipscomb, who runs our parking ground transportation team, and it's about the problem with lack of enforcement of the PUDOs on K Street, you know, in the 400 block, I guess it is. Yeah, and it's, yeah, this is, you know, we thought we had a little trouble with the first protected bike lanes that moved the parking out. DPW said that they couldn't, cars weren't parked against the curb, so therefore the parking regs didn't apply. And we got past that, we thought, and now we were told the same thing about that PUDO zone on K Street, that, well, the cars are not at the curb, so we can't enforce it. So I don't think that's, so maybe we need to go back, do a little education. But I think, I'll be honest, we could use help from all the ANCs who have, you know, PUDOs in their area, because the best signage, the best ideas for curbside management are not going to work if there's no enforcement. And so I share your frustration, and I'm not sure what to do. I do know that they've always, you know, I've been working on the school zone safety for years, and one of the things they've said is, you have a 15-minute pickup drop-off period at a school, they're not going to come around and time people. So there's a fundamental problem here, and I'm not sure what the answer to it is, but I think if you had some DPW enforcement, that people might begin to behave differently. So I hear you.
Yeah, just being mindful of time. I'll follow up with you, and we should
Sure.
talk about this more. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the community now. Any questions from the community? This is a pretty big deal. This is the 9th Street bike lane. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. If you have, oh, there's Alex. Okay, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. Go ahead and move Alex Powderland. Alex, where'd he go? Okay, Alex, go ahead with your question. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Commissioner Nigro. I am not going to bring up the myriad concerns that business owners have about the cycle track. We'll deal with those in the meeting that DDOT has agreed to have with business owners tomorrow. But I have two main points that I'd like to make. Number one, on the issue of ADA accessible parking spaces on the east side of the street. To say that you're not going to provide any ADA accessible parking spaces on the east side of the street basically condemns anyone with mobility challenges or that drives a vehicle that offloads on the passenger side of the vehicle to only using half of the parking spaces that are available on the street. No, that's just not, a tenable.
Yeah. Do
So
you want me to answer that one, or wait till your second?
you can.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that I said there wouldn't be any ADA spaces on the east side.
So you were saying that you're only going to put them where they are today. Well, there aren't very many at all on the east.
Right.
So,
I think first of all, I was saying, do you have ideas of where we want to add them? We can add them, but I'm saying the buses are on the other side of the street, so there won't be any special ADA bus issue to deal with. We are going to look at similar to what we've done on K Street, which is we put 2 ADA spots there. We put them at the end of the block. We skinny up the bike lane to create the access aisle that's required in the design for an accessible spot. And then it's close to the curb ramp at the corner. And that is typically, that's how you can make an ADA compliant space in a protected bike lane. So we will, that is this type of thing we will look at. And if happy to take suggestions for additional ADA spots that we can carve out.
Sure, and I'd like to actually organize a walkthrough with some of the mobility challenge community so that we can try to address that now instead of leaving it, for the last minute or after construction has taken place, as has happened with K Street. And then the second issue is that most of the challenges that are posed by the cycle track would be eliminated if you just made the stretch north of Massachusetts Avenue to Florida Avenue one way. It's already one way south of Massachusetts Avenue, and the street works. Your refusal to take into consideration and to study, the possibility of having 9th Street be a one-way street, be it northbound or southbound, is very frustrating to to folks that are going to have to live with the inconveniences and the negative impacts that are being proposed. So I really would hope that everyone in the sound of my voice would take a look at other streets that are one way and have bidirectional cycle tracks. They work much better than the streets that are two way because you don't reduce the traffic into one lane. You know, the argument that there's less traffic northbound, you know, I can tell you as a driver right now, I get stuck in traffic jams going northbound on 9th Street, north of Massachusetts Avenue all the time. So you're not being realistic. And just as when you and I had to take a walk up 9th Street to find all the places that your team had failed to take into consideration, where there were garage entrances, tractor trailers crossing the path of the proposed cycle track, you know, curb cuts for parking lots that you did not see because your contractors only used satellite maps and didn't actually walk on the street. You know, you're missing the reality, the lived reality of people that actually use 9th Street northbound every day.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
That's all I have.
You want to go ahead and move move Alex Patter out, please? Okay, anyone else from the community have a question concerning the 9th Street bike lane? Press *9 if you're on the phone or use the raise your hand feature. Anyone else? Going once, twice? Okay, Michael Eichler.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk during the commissioner period before we flipped to the community. I just wanted to thank everyone again for the presentation, and just wanted to note that many of my constituents are very excited about the possibility of biking on 9th Street safely. I also note that many of my constituents feel that 9th Street is currently unsafe, and we're excited about some traffic calming facilities that would, you know, the bike lane has the added benefit of just making the street work better and making the street safer. So I'm very excited about that aspect as well. I just wanted to reiterate a couple comments that I've made in the past. First, just a broader comment that when it comes to roadway space, my personal belief is that our priorities should be ped, bike, transit, deliveries, parking, and then vehicle movements, because this is our community and we should be able to use it for ourselves safely. So, so from that perspective, I would almost prefer more parking and less turn pockets. Simply, if that's an option, we could, you know, explore some scenarios there. Also, just curious as to whether there's any possibility of making the peak only parking prohibition on the 1900 block of 9th Street, if that could be AM peak only instead of AM and PM peak, as a way of providing some additional parking for the restaurants and businesses along the 1900 block. Considering that, you know, inbound during AM peak is generally the peak flow direction, that's the only time that we would probably need to limit the parking there. It could be helpful to consider that as a way of making it more palatable to the community up there. I did also, as you may recall, I sent you an email last week with a handful of other ideas. I would love to be part of any walkthrough within the 6E01 community, and also help to connect you with some additional people within the disability community who may be interested in providing input and feedback. So thank you for your time today.
No, thank you. Happy to work on that. Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is very exciting. We appreciate the time you have taken, and this is we have much to look forward to. So keep in touch with updates.
yeah.
Please do, and you can, of course, you could come back. Okay. All right, Ed, why don't you move George and Mike out?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for everyone who's on the call, we're going to have Lieutenant Daae next for 3D, and then we're going to go to the U.S. Postal Service. I think they are on the call, I hope. So Lieutenant Daae, Ed will move you in a second here. You can unmute yourself, Lieutenant. Hi.
Hello there.
There you go. So this is for everyone. This is Lieutenant Daae. He is with 3D. This is the area that is north of New York Avenue. Go ahead, Lieutenant.
All right, just to update you all, we did have a shooting at 405 N Street Northwest. This was on the 28th of June around 9:30 p.m. This arrest was closed by an arrest, so we arrested the person involved, and it was not a it was not a passerby or kind of shooting. They were definitely targeting each other, but the person that was involved was arrested, and it's been cleared by an arrest. We also had robberies on the 400 block of N Street, both on the 3rd and the 4th, involving juveniles. One robbery was closed by an arrest of a juvenile on the 4th. So that's been cleared by an arrest. I'm welcome to take any questions and concerns. Other than that, we've been keeping our deployment pretty good on our blocks. I know we've been out on North Capitol Street, unit block at O Street, and as well as 600 block at O.
Okay, great. And commissioners, any questions for Lieutenant Dye?
Hi, Lieutenant. Yeah, I've received a couple questions from constituents who live on Florida Avenue, complaining about kind of souped up muscle cars that are designed to make a lot of noise and coming through their area in the middle of the night. I think that it's partially about speed and dangerous driving, but also it seems to be more of kind of a noise complaint type of issue. And I'm kind of at a loss with how to how to direct these folks. Can you give any advice in how to address this?
Well, if they're ATVs, and those are pretty loud.
Sometimes they're ATVs. I think sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just like, muscle cars.
Yeah. So the muscle cars, noise at night kind of situation is kind of harder case for us to follow up on, because again, a muscle car is not illegal. And the noise complaint is something that we would have to be there to observe and record. But the ATVs, our policy towards our officers is to definitely record, try to take pictures of the ATV drivers, and we will follow up with reports and warrants if possible. We are not going to chase ATVs, obviously, that would create an unsafe situation. And in turn, we do have traffic enforcement officers. The whole thing is they would have to make a traffic stop on those muscle cars and go from there if they're in violation of any traffic violations. Can you tell me the time and around the time, and is this happening more on the weekends?
It's happening on the weekends, and it seems to be happening as late as like 3 a.m. And yeah, I didn't know if there was an enforcement angle here or if there's something else legislatively perhaps or in regulations that we need to consider to prevent these types of vehicle modifications. But
right.
I appreciate that information.
Not a problem. Just wanted to update you guys as well. We also had a gun recovery with an arrest, and that was on the 1300 block of 5th Street. That was about 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay, great. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I have an additional question for Lieutenant. Thanks for your updates. In this sort of connected with what Alex had said, and also kind of resonating with some comments from some other of my constituents who've raised concerns about the lack of visible police presence in our community. There's been a series of major crimes and a variety of minor crimes as well that we feel could have been averted or mitigated through additional visible police presence. Being a block away when a shooting occurs and showing up in 5 minutes or 3 minutes isn't as good as preventing the incident by being nearby and making the potential perpetrator aware of your presence before they commit the crime. They may choose to keep walking. So I'm continuing to ask you, and also following some other channels of creative ways that we could explore some additional visible police presence. I've heard the rationale that officers need to be in their vehicles in case there is an emergency that requires them to immediately move themselves to a new location. I would like to think that perhaps officers could be on bikes with a bike rack on the back of their car, and they could easily bike to their car and then drive on. Other thoughts that could be implemented could include actually having police cars drive the speed limit through our streets. and simply act as a moving bottleneck that forces cars to slow down. I mean, we have serious speeding. I witnessed through my ears a crash right in front of my house a couple weeks ago where a car was probably going 70 miles an hour down Rhode Island Avenue on a Sunday afternoon, and collided with a car that was turning left, and then they sped away. I don't know how their car was drivable afterwards, but like there's serious traffic violence going on in our community that can only be thwarted through enforcement, whether it's camera enforcement and tickets, or whether it's physical presence of police. And I can't reiterate this enough that we need to see you more often. Not a car sitting in the parking lot of the Shiloh Church, but instead a car more present, moving around, perhaps would do a better job. A variety of any other strategies you may have in mind, I'd be excited to hear about.
Now, in reference to the Shiloh Church, the officers know they're not supposed to just sit in their cars, and they're supposed to be mobile and visible. So if you guys see that, call the watch commander's phone or call to the district and let us know about it so that we can address those officers correctly. So they should be mobile. They are in their they have beats that they're supposed to check on and monitor and patrol, but those are not fixed. We don't have fixed posts in 3D. We don't have a fixed location for these officers, but they do have specialized beats that they are supposed to be monitoring and patrolling around. So if you see them just sitting at Shiloh Basket at the Shiloh Church in the parking lot, call us and we'll address it. And our sergeants are out there also, and they go check on the beats and they tell the officers to get, they handle that as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions from the commissioners before I move to the community? No, okay. All right, I see Ian, well, you're gonna move over. You have a question for Lieutenant Daae. Go ahead, Ed, move Ian over. Go ahead, you can unmute yourself.
Hello,
Go ahead.
everyone.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me. I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that Michael just said about the visibility of the cops in, I guess, in his area specifically. I did have a conversation with Sergeant Bolton today, which was quite fruitful about some of the incidences that I've witnessed personally. But again, I just want to echo that having officers more visible would be helpful. I am someone that walks around the neighborhood quite frequently because I have a dog, and the presence of police officers in this area is truly not felt. When I brought up some of the issues that the community has been experiencing, some of them were quite a surprise to them. I think that one of the more surprising things to them was the fact that there was an attempted assault last week on me and my dog. Even though I had called 911, there doesn't seem to be a true record of that attempted assault with a metal baton. To Sergeant Bolton's credit, he thoroughly talked through the issues with me. But I just wanted to reiterate that again, that seeing police officers would make the community feel more safe.
Definitely, sir. And I'm in receipt of Sergeant Bolton's update to you, so I'm aware of his conversation and what you guys talked about. So definitely, we're going to reiterate that to our troops.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Why don't you move him out, Ed? And I think, did we have another community question for Lieutenant Daae? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Lieutenant Daae of 3D. No. Okay, I'm gonna do we'll call out once or 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's it. No more questions for Lieutenant. Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Zooming in. We'll be in touch, I'm sure, very soon.
Yes, ma'am.
See ya. Okay, so now I'm calling for April, who is on, if she is on from the United States Postal Service. use the raise your hand feature, or press star 9. I don't see her telephone number. Oh, April, there you are, April. You're not using your number. Okay, and move April over. And anyone else who might be on her team from the United States Postal Service. There you go. Mr. Witherspoon or Miss Witherspoon. Ed will move you over. Hey, April. April, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, April. So go ahead if you want to introduce.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes. Thank you, April, for joining us. So for everyone, I invited April Jackson. She is the DC Community Relations Coordinator. I received a lot of feedback from people about the United States Postal Service. And so this is going to be a two-parter for us. April is going to take some questions and receive some feedback, but the goal is for September, hopefully, April, right? That we have the postmaster come. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, who has a question for United States Post? And I'm going to begin with Ed. Ed is going to unmute himself.
Yeah, hi, good evening. I have my question stems from the deterioration in the Postal Service's performances in terms of both first-class mail delivery as well as packages. I have had several packages in the last couple of months that have taken anywhere from never showing up to several weeks to finally show up. In one instance, it was where the carrier never bothered to scan the package, and it was delivered, but it never showed up as being scanned. Unfortunately, that wasn't in DC. It left DC, went to another area, but that type of thing does exist. I have one particular package that came into the area June the 16th, I believe it was. It went to Hyattsville. Then it came into DC, and that was on the 21st of June, and that's the last we've ever heard from it. So what kind of efforts can be made to improve on that type of delivery service?
Now, to go back to that package right there, the one you said for June 16th, it went to Hyattsville and then back in DC on the 21st, no information from the 21st. Would you happen to have that tracking number for that package? That way I can look more into that package. Now, as far as our packages, they do go across from plant to plant. So some packages don't come directly to Washington, D.C. They do go to our processing facility in Hyattsville, Maryland, and or in Capitol Heights, Maryland first, prior to arriving in the processing facility here at your delivery unit.
Okay. And the tracking number, you want the tracking number real fast?
Yes, I do.
It's 9200 1901 187 534 534 68176.
Okay, and I'll track the information, get you information on that one there.
And then I have one quick follow-up would be, how can they improve customer service in terms of reaching you people when we do have such an issue to try to find out what, to get a case number established? Waiting on the phone for an hour is really unacceptable.
Hey, April, let me butt in real quick before he goes further. The first one is, did you have by any chance track that package? Because before April before she looked into it, did you see anything that it said arrived to your delivery unit, or by chance did you track it yourself?
No, I do have it on the the informed delivery, the tracking number in that regards. But yeah, the last it arrived at the regional facility on the 17th, and then it went in transit to the next facility on the 21st.
So the last scan you have is in transit, so it could be looping back and forth. So April will look into that, because if it don't have a arrival to your actual delivery unit, that means we have not received it yet as of in DC. It still can be in the plant, and we do have a backlog that's going on now. So you could, or everyone in your community could be receiving mail as of now, because we are cleaning up the units. Some of the units are getting their employees back. So that is one of the reasons why we are so backed up and delayed, even though you may send in your visibility, but you might not receive it the next day, is because the units was so far delayed with the employee availability we was rotating the routes to try to clean the units up. Right now we are caught up. So if you didn't receive any mail today, it's because we had to catch up all of last week and week before mail. So we should be on track for everything tomorrow. What is your zip code?
2001.
2001. Okay, 2001 really haven't been backed up. They were delivering their mail. April, can you get his address so we can see what's going on with his address? Have you been getting any late mail, or have you been receiving all your mail?
Well, again,
Commissioner
I
Nigro,
don't know.
can we
Yep,
take this up a level?
Yep, hey, April, I'll give you Ed's address.
Okay, that's good.
I have his address. I have it.
Oh, you do?
Okay, so the
Well-
next one, go ahead with your question. I'm gonna go back on mute.
So let's see if the commissioners have any questions for the Postal Service, and then I see Jessica. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the Postal Service? Denise?
Yes, I have a question. Sometimes when I'm to receive packages on Sundays, do you know why they mark it as couldn't deliver, and then you get it on Monday or Tuesday? It happens a lot. I get a lot of packages.
You house, resident, apartment?
It's a house, residence house.
The only thing I could say with that is being negligent of the courier, because a resident, they should not be putting business closed, no access. The only how they can do no access if you have an animal or something in your yard. Other than that, is negligence of the courier. So when that type of stuff happens, we need to know right then and there, like call that 1-800 number so someone could get in contact back with you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ed, why don't you go ahead and move Jessica over? Jessica, you can unmute yourself. Jessica. You can unmute yourself, Jessica.
Hi, sorry, it decided to reload. I appreciate the time. So over the past 5 years, my mail holds, which I put in using the online form, as well as I use the yellow sheet that I've picked up from the post office and left in my mailbox, they're never honored. Over the past 18 months, I've had 13 mail holds and none of them have been honored. I've issued and submitted complaints for all of them. Each time I submit a complaint, I am told a script that the individual on the phone does not deviate from. I'm unable to ask questions, and he said it's addressed, and it's not. I've been unsuccessful in speaking to any other person at the post office about this. And I'm frankly at the point of I should just remove my mailbox in order to not get the mail delivered. But on this few occasions that they do hold it, which is after my complaint has been submitted, I don't get my mail that was held until a month afterwards. So what I'm asking for tonight is just a name of somebody I can talk to after this meeting, like tomorrow or this week, to try to figure out why my mail holds in particular are never honored.
Okay, Ms. Commissioner Jessica, you have my Commissioner Nigro, can you provide her my contact information?
I will.
And
Yep.
I can speak with her, and I'll speak with the manager as well for the unit. The manager for the unit is on vacation this week, so I'm filling in, taking the questions, and I will relay the information to her once she returns. Is that okay?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, April. Anyway, thanks, Jessica. Marcus, why don't you go ahead and move Jessica back over? Okay, any other questions for the United States Postal Service? They'll be back in September with the postmaster. Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Okay. All right, Marcus up. Thank you, April and Ms. Witherspoon. I appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to more information in September.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, great. Marcus, go ahead and move out April, Jessica, and Ms. Witherspoon. Okay, so next we have on the agenda, we have 317 K Street. So I do not know who, Alex or
Yes,
Kevin, who is that?
So this should be Carlos Iglesias.
Okay, Carlos, if you
Mr.
want to,
Iglesias.
there he is. Okay, Marcus, move in Carlos, if you would, please.
So while
Hi,
Mr.
Carlos.
Iglesias comes over, I'll introduce this. 317 K Street is a hotel project. I believe that this ANC reviewed the plans and provided our approval maybe last year. But the Carlos came before the TAC last Tuesday to present a proposal for public space permits for bay windows, marquee, canopy projections, a curb cut, vault, and loading dock parking. And so he's seeking support for those public space uses.
Okay, great. Carlos, go ahead. If you want to go ahead and if you
Sure.
have anything to show us, you're welcome to present.
I do, just trying to figure out how, I guess, how I share my screen.
See the little green button on the bottom says share screen?
No, I don't have that option actually. I just have lower hand and QA.
No, you should be able to share your screen.
No, it does not allow. I'm
No?
not seeing any of them.
You don't see
Nope.
share your screen?
No, I don't
Move
have
your
it.
cursor. Move your cursor around. It might pop up on the screen.
Yep. It is not allowing me to.
Oh,
I have a mute button with a
at the bottom?
bottom left hand, and then I have lower hand. Let me see if I lower hand. Nope, and then I have the
No.
QA and leave, and that's it.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, Alex, do you have it, or can you just talk us through it then?
I do have the documents.
Okay.
Mr. Iglesias, is there a particular one that you want me
Sure.
to share?
Yes. Let me just pull up what I have here on the plans. Sheet A100 would be good. The site plan.
Okay, in the plan folder.
Yes.
A100. Okay. Just give me. Okay, let me share. Okay, maximizing the screen. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. If you could, I guess, just zoom into the items. Yep, there. We can start anywhere on this, anywhere on part of the plan that you want, and I'll be happy to explain.
Oh, okay. Let's start on, I guess, on 4th Street.
Sure. So we are proposing a curb cut on 4th Street here, along the property line with our adjoining property owner. This is going to be a new 20-foot curb cut. It will require the elimination of an existing small tree in the public right-of-way and a tree box in order to accommodate the proposed garage entry for off-street parking for the hotel. Going down, we are proposing a valet/loading space for the loading zone and also valet space for receiving receiving not only equipment, material, and deliveries for the hotel operations, as well as valet for guests that are coming to the property. This was all, these two items were presented. If I could add, I should have led with this. All of these items that we are presenting today have previously been presented to the ANC 6E as part of our BZA application that was approved by BZA and also supported unanimously by ANC 60 in 2018. That exact date and resolution letter was uploaded as part of the submission to I'm sorry, to DDOT as part of this application. That was June 20th, 2018 resolution letter. Going back to the presentation here, along 4th Street, we have a bay window projection that is running, yes, right there, that runs parallel against the building on 4th Street, projects a little further beyond it. At the most widest point, it is not more than 4 feet. At the most narrowest point, it is not greater than 1.89 feet, for a total length of 34 feet. We are also proposing along 4th Street a marquee or canopy, as you want to refer to it. We are projecting out along 4th Street 5 feet 6 inches, and we are it is wrapping around onto K Street for an approximate length of 32 feet, and we'll be projecting out 8 feet total length. There will be additional canopies that will be in front of the large windows along K Street. They will not project out more than 5 feet, and they have various sizes. Some of them are 17.89, some of them are 17 feet. The other one is 17.89. Those are the canopies that we are going to be proposing there, again, in front of the windows. And then there is another bay window projection that will not project out more than 4 feet. It is right at the end of the property on the corner, and it is 24 feet 6 inches wide. Just to provide some context, there will be 42 feet from the termination point of the valet/loading zone to the intersection. So there will hopefully not be any spillover, because we will have more than enough space to receive valet and loading and the loading zone for when we are accepting deliveries. The hotel is proposed to be a Holiday Inn Express. If there are any questions, the committee, I'm sorry, from the commissioners or the community, I'm happy to field them.
So I'll just say that the TAC reviewed or received this presentation last week, and we voted to recommend support. I did have a question here, though. Between the valet parking zone and the curb, is this currently a no parking area?
I think the parking may go a little further ahead than that. Give me a second. Let me pull up the photographs that I have in the file. Bear with me one moment. I think the no parking may go a little further beyond right now. I'm sorry, I believe parking presently may go closer to the intersection than we are showing on the valet parking loading zone area, based on the photographs that I had in the package.
Okay, so there is some potential for, if vehicles do spill over a little bit, they wouldn't be encroaching on that no parking zone near the intersection.
Correct. And that would actually, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it here. I got a better angle on photo 1 of 2. It looks like the parking terminates just in front of those catch basins.
Okay, just about here.
A little further ahead, right where the valet parking actually stops.
Oh, right.
Starts. Yeah, that is where the parking begins. There is no parking, a no parking sign shown after that. So presently, DDOT has it that there is no parking allowed between the commencement of the valet parking and the intersection.
Okay, so I mean, I guess it'll be important for the hotel management to ensure that this space, which is currently per DDOT's regulations too close to the intersection to allow for parking, not become a de facto third loading spot or third valet spot.
Agreed. Agreed. And we'll be sure to relay that concern to hotel operations for Holiday Inn Express.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions for this request? All right, do you want to, can you put down the screen? Do you mind?
Stop sharing.
Can you put down the presentation? Stop sharing, I'm sorry. Okay, any questions from the community concerning this? The Holiday Inn, the request? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Nope. Okay, I don't know if Kevin or Alex, would you like to make the motion, please?
Kevin, I'll make the motion if that's okay with you. A move that ANC 6E support the application 317 K Street Northwest, request for bay windows, marquee, and canopy projections, a curb cut, vault, and loading dock parking in the public right of way, and communicate that support to DDOT.
If I could add and valet.
And valet, yes, and valet parking.
Do you have a second? Or any questions about the motion? No?
Second.
Who's a second? Who's that?
Me, Patrick.
Who, Patrick? Okay, Patrick seconds. Okay, Kevin, unmute yourself, please. Kevin. Okay, all in favor? Aye, Michael. Okay, all in favor. Okay, great. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay, great. And we have a change. I think there's a little confusion. Mr. Kim, could you please raise your hand, please? Daniel Kim. Apparently, we are gonna do 310. Marcus, could you please move over Daniel Kim? Hi, Mr. Kim.
Hello.
Yourself. Hi. So I'm a little confused. So I got a message from Tony saying that you weren't going to come tonight, but here you are. So
Yeah, we were asked to submit to BZA first. I'm sorry, to Office of Zoning first. But since we have a meeting and we have to wait till September, I thought we are going to tell you what we are trying to do and show what our plans are.
So you want it now, you don't want it in September?
I want it now and probably will make a submission and then probably see you again in September.
No, let's just do this once. So you can, why don't you just come and see us in September, all right? Right?
We can show you and we don't have to show up on September if you don't want us to.
So do you need our support now or do you want it in September? Because are you gonna make any changes? That was my question.
No, we are not gonna make any changes. If this one is okay with you guys, we wanna go ahead and submit to Office of Zoning.
Okay, great. Okay, but you haven't submitted, you don't have a case number yet.
No, we don't.
Are you gonna get a case number soon?
Yes.
I would actually prefer that you have a case number for us.
I see.
So why don't you come in September then?
Okay, we'll come back on September then.
Okay, get the case number and then that would make me feel better.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Kim. Okay, take care. Good to see you. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna move on to North Capitol, Jeff. 899-999 North Capitol. Jeff, I know you're on the call. Do you want to raise your hand? There you go. Marcus, you want to be, there's Jeff. Anyone else, Jeff, with you?
Yes, please. There is Sam Holman
Okay.
is on the line from Network Realty Partners, the applicant. Tracy Weems,
Okay.
who's from GTM Architects. And actually, if she could please share her screen, that would be much appreciated.
Okay.
And then Brandon Robinson, who's from HCM Architects. And then Dan Avrit, AVRIT, who's from Parker Rodriguez Landscape Architects.
Okay.
There are other people
I think that's it,
on
right?
as well. Yeah, that's it. But there are other people on as well if questions come up.
So this is all we need, right? Okay. All right. So who did you say was going to share this for Tracy?
Tracy, please.
Tracy,
yes.
you can go ahead and share your screen. You should be able to. And everyone can unmute themselves. Tracy, Sam, Dan.
Can you hear me?
We can. So let me just tee this up.
I think I have the same problem as the other gentleman. I don't see the button for sharing my screen.
Screen?
Yeah, and I even looked under settings because there's screen sharing. It doesn't.
Who can share? All panelists. I don't know, you guys. That's what I'm seeing.
Hey, Rochelle.
Yep.
So when I look on the right side of my screen, they don't show up as panelists, even though they're in this area with us. The only panelists I see are the commissioners and Marcus.
Oh. Marcus, can you move Tracy back over and then make her, I'm not sure what's going on. Can you just move her back over and then move her back? Are you moving them as panelists? Marcus?
Yeah. Sorry, yes.
When you move them, are you moving them in as panelists?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Oh, I have the option now to share screen.
Okay, hooray. Thank you, Marcus.
Yeah.
There worked.
Okay, hooray.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Great.
Okay, so let me just tee this up a little bit. So this is not in our ANC. This is across from us, but this is a significant development. So when these type of projects happen, they would like feedback from the neighboring commission.
Great. Well, thank you, Commissioner Nigro and ANC 6E. We really do appreciate getting on your agenda, and we appreciate the time we met with the Planning and Zoning Committee last week, and we appreciate that time as well. But this is, as mentioned, 899 to 999 North Capitol Street. I'm Jeff Utz with Goulston and Storrs. I'm the Land Use Council. I just realized that I can turn my camera on now, so I just did it. And as I said, with me today is Sam Holman from Network, which is the applicant, and Tracy Weems and Brandon Robinson are the architects, and Dan Avrit is the landscape architect. As you can see with the slide that is up right now, this is a fairly large site that is located at the intersection of North Capitol and K Street. It is in ANC 6C, so directly across the street. But we did want to come, and hopefully it's a project that you like, and we would love to get your support. But the case number itself is Zoning Commission case number 2109. So it is a design review application based on the property's location on North Capitol, primarily assessing the impacts on the kind of monumental views north and south along North Capitol, along with some other considerations basically affecting design, public space, and things like this. So without further ado, I will just mention that the hearing itself is on September 13th. So it actually was scheduled pretty quickly after filing. And with that, I will turn it over to Sam from Network.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Commissioner Nigro and the rest of you for having us here. Really do appreciate it. My name is Sam Holman. I'm with Network Realty Partners. We are an investment development firm in Washington, D.C. Union Square, which is 899, 999, 901 North Capitol Street, is actually our first project as a company. We're super proud of the design we've put together. We've assembled a great team here, and we're excited to share it with you. I would note a couple things about the property. Number one is that these properties were built in the early 70s, and they were set back from the street about 14, or set back from the public realm about 14 feet. And they featured these 5-6 foot deep light wells along the face of the property, and we think that does incredible harm to the property. from activating and energizing the streetscape. We feel like we can really improve the place, create an 18-hour environment in a destination in Noma that we feel really needs it, and hopefully help us in our mission to attract private tenancy attract additional tenancy, including private sector tenants, for both 899 and 999 North Capitol Street. So as we go through this presentation, I want you guys to be thinking about our major goals, which are to activate and energize the streetscape, to create an 18-hour environment, and to really enhance that pedestrian experience. As Tracy and Brandon run through this presentation, they're also going to talk about the historic character of the neighborhood and how we hope to integrate in the context of what is really a design-rich corridor. And so I'm super excited about having them here. They're our architects for the job, and they're going to do a great job presenting it. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Tracy. But again, thanks guys very much. Really appreciate you guys having us here.
So the plan here shows phase 1, which is 999 and 899, and the goal here is to fill in the void that Sam mentioned. Just a quick reminder in case you guys aren't familiar with what the buildings look like. There's a slide for that. So the goal for phase 1 was to fill in the void and to connect the buildings with the sidewalk. As Sam mentioned, the main goal there is to activate and energize the streetscape. We're adding new tenant entries at the sidewalk level, which will make the building more accessible, as well as improving the pedestrian experience. For the building additions, we chose to differentiate from the existing buildings, which can feel a bit cold and unwelcoming due to their material and scale. We felt that the brick tied in well with the context and the historical character of the neighborhood, as Sam mentioned, as well as making the buildings feel warmer and more human scaled. We chose neutral brick colors to complement the precast, as well as allowing the red brick of the future hotel, shown here in the middle, to act as a landmark along the block. So wrapping the retail at the plaza ties into the owner's goal of creating the 18-hour environment, where possibly this could be a future food hall tenant, which would be a great amenity not only for the site, but also for the neighborhood. And then this is a view looking north on North Capitol at 899, where we're adding a new tenant entry. And then going around the corner at the plaza, the goal here was to extend the reading of the existing building entry off of the plaza out to the sidewalk so that the building will be more inviting to visitors. And now I'll turn it over to Brandon Robinson with HCM.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Robinson with Fort Copeland Mox, and we were tasked on this project with phase 2, which is this roughly 100-key hotel and rather large 2-story restaurant/retail space to help anchor the plazas that we are creating around this new building on the existing plaza that is there today, and also activate the street, again, going back to trying to create this 18-hour welcoming pedestrian environment, and also to reinforce the street wall with a building that's of scale. So we can run through these relatively quickly. These are some shots from North Capitol looking at the hotel building. And one of the key things that's important to note here is that we are kind of introducing this nod to the more historic brick buildings that run up and down North Capitol Street within a couple of blocks of us, most notably the GPO buildings south of us, the entire Gonzaga campus, literally right across the street from us, not least of which is the church, and then also the old historic red brick church, which I can never remember the name of, that is just north of us on K Street. So our idea was to sort of create this pocket of this sort of red brick nod to a historic building on the east side of North Capitol Street in this existing plaza space, to pull some of that character into a zone of the block that is, as Tracy mentioned, a little cold and stark with a lot of mid-century modern style federal office buildings. And so that's the real big thing that we're trying to accomplish with the hotel building, is to create this moment visually along the street corridor, as you can see here, looking north, and also to anchor as much activity around it, both within the restaurant uses at the bottom 2 floors of the hotel, but also in the plaza spaces that surround our building. And Tracy, if you could jump to the next slide really quickly. One of the key aspects to that, and what we hope will be a very successful approach to activating this site, is this idea of porosity and creating a number of outdoor spaces around the 901 building that interact with both the street and the existing 899 and 999 buildings on the south and north sides of the new hotel, as well as to reinforce the sort of historic I Street east-west connection that used to run south of our site, which is even today still a pretty decent pedestrian thoroughfare to First Street to get to Union Station. So in order to facilitate all of that pedestrian traffic, and also to create these desirable sort of human scaled outdoor spaces, not only do we have a number of plaza pockets sort of scattered all the way around, but we also introduce this connection that cuts through our building, that is an outdoor public space, but completely covered, that we see as a real benefit, both as a venue to be used by the hotel or the restaurant or any of the other office users, but also as a way to draw people back into these spaces and maintain a certain level of activity, including things like pulling the hotel's entry back into the plazas to pull people into the plaza space to further activate it. And that's really it. I mean, I could talk a lot about the plazas themselves, but I will defer to Dan Everett with PRI.
Hi, this is Dan. I'll run through this quickly. So here's the plan at final build out. You can see the 901 building in the middle, 899 buildings on the right, and the 999 is on the left. For the streetscape, we're removing the brick walls that are there and replacing them with a low curb. And then we're also revising the landscape. Right now, the landscape is really kind of a barrier, and it's really hiding those wells that are in front of the building today. So we're opening that up in the same urban manner to create an urban frontage to this place. At the 901 building, we're creating a plaza out front. You can see the outdoor dining that's going to go in with the 999 building. The hotel will anchor that with an outdoor lounge. We have a plaza that goes in, and maybe Tracy, we can just kind of walk through the plaza. I'll describe some of the features. We just go through kind of quickly. So this is from North Capitol Street looking in. The hotel entrance is on the right. That's the glass box that I think maybe Brandon referred to. Next. And there's that glass box. We have a change in grade that you see out there today, and we're doing this all very subtly to blend the site much more and not make it feel like such an abrupt change from the street. Next. This is the loggia that goes under the building that connects the two buildings. So it still serves the same function as it is today, but it's much more human scaled. And we think it could be much more enjoyable, provide a rain shelter and sun shelter. Next. The next slide is from the 899 building at the lobby there, and you can see the connection out to First Street on the far right. Next. We'll go back out to South Capitol, and you can see that the kind of the eyebrow that Tracy was referring to. We're keeping the existing stairs on this side. We have a large grade change that occurs, but we're also inserting a ramp that facilitates AD access, and then to the left out is dining. One last thing is we're really trying to keep the glass open and porous so that you can see into the retail. It'll be a much different experience than it is today. And I think that summarizes the landscape.
That's great. Thank you, Dan. Thank you all. And that concludes our presentation. We are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, commissioners, you want to take down your presentation, please? Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions? No questions? Okay, for the community, do you have any questions about this future project that is across from our area? Community, press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. This is for 899 and 999 North Capitol across from our ANC. They are seeking any feedback. Oh, Tony, I'm sorry. Is that there? I was wondering if you were here, Tony.
Hello.
Tony, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Jeff and company, they presented a wonderful package to us regarding the development at 899, 999, and as well 901 North Capitol Street. They did a phenomenal job. The committee was very pleased with it. It encompasses a lot of benefits to not only the people that are going to be working there, but as well the neighborhood where they have a place to go and assemble outside and have, I think, outside dining in the whole 9 yards. We felt they did a wonderful job with that. The only issue, we had two issues. The massing on the addition on the 999 building is somewhat darker than the massing on the exterior build out on 899. So we basically made a comment about that and the design of the pillar work or the column work. We felt that they should go back and sort of look at that a little bit harder and come up with a slightly different variation. In addition to that, they've done a good job also on green space. However, being that green space is a lacking commodity in a lot of the projects, we have asked them to go back and sort of address and see if we can get a little bit more green space for outdoor activity. Other than that, we felt it was a wonderful project. We feel that ANC 6E should support this project. Okay.
And I'll just say thank you very much. We really do appreciate your support here. We just did the presentation on last Thursday, and a lot of us were out the holiday weekend. So we absolutely plan on going back and looking further into how to incorporate additional green space and do a color study on the brick at 999 to kind of present a more mutually agreeable facade for everyone. But again, really do appreciate the support.
Great job.
Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions for this project from the community or from the commissioners? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. No. So Jeff, are you looking for a motion for this in general then for support? Is that correct?
Yes, please, a motion, and if it would be possible to obtain a letter for submission to the zoning commission, that would be very much appreciated.
But I'm just saying it but you don't need anything specific. This is all just for in terms of the general project, right?
Right. Yeah, it's just for the design review. Yeah,
okay.
Just the design review application 21-09.
For zoning. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just for the zone, right. The zoning commission case 21-09.
For what did you say for the general? Say it one more time.
So it's just general design review.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a design review. Yeah. Just design review case at 21, case number 2109.
Okay. Okay, commissioners, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. I move that ANC 6E support the general design review for 899 and 999 North Capitol Street Northwest, the Union Square project. There's my motion. Any questions on the motion? Michael? Michael? Okay, Michael seconds.
Friendly amendment
Yes.
to the motion and communicate that support to the zoning commission.
Oh, yes, thank you, Alex. I apologize. Yeah. Friendly amendment accepted. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin, unmute yourself.
Aye.
Where is Denise? We're missing Denise. Okay, so we have Alex, Kevin, Rochelle, Michael, Patrick, and Frank. I don't know where Denise went. Okay. All right. Okay, motion passes. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Give me,
Bye.
commissioners, give me a second. I'm dealing with 310 at the moment. So 1 second, please. Okay, gentlemen, I don't know where Denise went. Okay, moving forward. Go ahead, Marcus, move them out. And then we have, next we have Shaw Main Streets. Alex Padro, he's still with us here. Why don't you raise your hand, Alex, so Marcus can see it? Thank you. Anyone else, Alex, that's going to present with you? No? Okay.
No, just me today.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Oh, wait, so, Michael Eichler, do you want to tee us up? Is this your area, Michael? No? Yes, no?
Sorry, say that again.
Is this Michael Eichler's area, or one of them is Michael's? Like, we can't hear you, Michael.
Yes, both of them are in Michael's area.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Michael can
I
begin.
was multitasking. Thank you, Alex. We've received your request for support for an application to put for two murals that are within the 6E commission area, specifically 6E01. One is on the northern side of the Lincoln Westmoreland building, quite a tall blank brick wall, and another is facing down to the French Street Park there at French and 10th Street. And we're excited to hear what your proposal is.
Great, and actually, if I can share my screen, I can actually show you a sketch that was just completed today for the French Street proposal. Rochelle, I don't know if you can handle that. Okay, let me pull that up so we can.
Is it just not, is this our technical situation, this meeting?
I think we should be able to get it to work this time.
There we go.
Well, thank you, commissioners. As Stryker indicated, Shaw Main Streets is proposing to add to the collection of public art in Central Shaw by making another application to the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities Public Arts Building Communities grant program. We actually have two additional murals that we're including in our package that are in ANC 1B, and ANC 1B has agreed to give us a letter of support for our application. And then there are two in ANC 6E. So this is currently a blank wall of on the west side of 941 French Street Northwest, facing the French Street Park. That the community, the association that maintains the park, and the French Street Neighbors Association have on many occasions in the past said is crying out for a mural. And the two property owners of the building have also concurred in a public meeting with the French Street Neighbors Association recently, where we solicited some comments. There were suggestions that we look at honoring the previous use of the site before it was redeveloped. It was a vegetable truck farm after it was developed and until, but before it was developed. And in addition, the park as it has been redeveloped is a monarch butterfly way station. So the plantings are particularly conducive to monarch butterflies, feeding and their migration on an annual basis from Mexico.
So Ania Commandofia is the artist that we are proposing for this particular mural. Mr. Rodofia is one of DC's best known and most prolific muralists. Some of his recent work and work in the neighborhood that folks may be familiar with includes the new Ben's Chili Bowl mural on the side of Ben's Chili Bowl that faces the Lincoln Theater. The Marvin Gaye mural that is at the southwest corner of 7th and S Streets Northwest on the north side of the building that houses Angel Share Liquors. And then most recently, a mural on the former home of Wagtime on 9th Street at 123 9th Street Northwest that is now Dogtopia. So folks are probably very familiar with Mr. Odopia's style and the threads that have been provided by community residents that are represented here include the vegetables from the vegetable farm, an earth goddess represented by the figure at the upper right, a horse-drawn wagon which would have transported the vegetables grown on the site to the markets here in Washington, D.C., and also the monarch butterflies. So you'll also notice that there are some red ribbons and stars hanging in front of the sun, indicate our continued striving for statehood for the District of Columbia. So those are some of the elements. We just got this afternoon, so we're looking forward to getting input from the associations previously mentioned virtually, since they won't be having a physical meeting before the next, before the deadline for the applications, which is the 16th of this month, and also shared it this evening with the property owners. So we're looking forward to getting some of their feedback that can be incorporated into a final design for submission for the commission. So the other building, as Commissioner Eichler noted, is the north side of the Lincoln Westmoreland high rise. We don't have a sketch ready to show you yet on that, but the proposed muralist is known as Chelov or Sita Sadeli, also a prolific Washington, D.C. Muralist who is very shortly going to be installing an FY21 PABC funded mural on the wall overlooking the 7-Eleven at 7th and Rhode Island Avenue. So this would be the second mural, sort of a pairing of murals that would be in dialogue with each other. And that mural is a female empowerment mural. So all of the figures are women from different races and backgrounds. And for the mural on the side of Lincoln Westmoreland, the objective is to come up with a composition that celebrates the uplift of the community that's represented by the construction of Lincoln Westmoreland by the two churches, Lincoln Temple at 11th and R and Westmoreland Congregational at the far end of Massachusetts Avenue at the borderline with Maryland, using faces people from a variety of races, a variety of ages, with the theme of the uplift of the community following the 1968 riots. So the four murals are proposed for a total of $125,000. We believe that it's possible to execute the four murals in question with this budget. And Shaw Main Streets has extensive managerial experience in projects of this type, as evidenced by the fact that this is our third application to the PABC program, and we are a longtime grantee of the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities going back to 2011. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this project. The murals would be installed next spring and summer. So the projects would be completed before the end of fiscal year 2022 on September the 30th, 2022.
Okay, you want to go ahead and take down the presentation, Alex, please?
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions concerning this?
Nope.
Michael, anyone? No? Okay. All right, from the community, and just so you guys, commissioners, Denise, we can't move phone callers over, so Denise is now unmuted permanently. She's on the other side, all right? So anyone from the community have questions concerning this project? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. Nope. Okie dokie. All right, Commissioner Iko, do you want to go ahead and make a motion?
Sure. I move that ANC 6E support the application of Shaw and Main Streets for a FY22 Public Art Building Communities Grant from the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities for murals, including 2 in 6001 at 941 French Street and at 1730 7th Street Northwest, and communicate that to the commission.
Do we have any questions about the motion? No. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Frank seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Denise, okay, great, great. And motion passes. So Alex, is it the, I can't remember the woman's name. I'm going to address the letter to her, right?
You can direct it to the executive director of the commission. I'll send you that information.
Okay, all right. Great, all right, thank you, Alex. Mark will move you out. Okay, great, thanks. Thank you for zooming in. All right, so next we have the Springfield Baptist Church. They're looking for our support for a DPR permit. I don't know who this is. Is Alex, who would that, who's ever on the call for Springfield Baptist Church, press *9.
There
they are, I see them. Okay, Marcus will move you over. And Alex, could you explain? I actually emailed Tommy Jones from DPR. I don't quite get why they need our support for this if they're just getting a permit.
So this is a permit process. I looked on the DPR website. They said that for this type of permit, they encourage applicants to get a letter of support from the ANC.
All righty, sounds good. Okay, Springfield Baptist Church.
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Yes. This is Reverend Nat. Let me stop my video. This is Reverend Nat Obi.
Hi, Reverend. Welcome to the.
Hi. How you guys doing? Yeah, we've done this event 4 or 5 times in the community. Part of our permit process, they've requested that we get a
letter of support
for ANC. I didn't get that from this time, but I always think it's always good to have the social distancing. We can only have 50 people in the park, but we did want to make sure that the kids got their backpacks this year and school supplies. And so we're trying to distribute about 450 right there in Shaw community. We've had 508 the last time we did the event, so we are excited about having it. The kids the kids need their school supplies going back to school. So we just need support from the ANC.
All right, that sounds great. Wonderful.
This event is on July 31st. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's on a Saturday from 12 to 4. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that ANC 6E support the application from Springfield Baptist Church to hold a community event or to apply for a permit to hold a community event at Kennedy Recreation Center on Saturday, July 31st, and communicate our support to DPR.
Any questions about the motion? Guess not. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Denise, Kevin?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, great. Motion
Yes.
passes. Okay. All right.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure seeing you.
Have a great evening now. God
Take
bless.
care.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next we have up the Mount Vernon Triangle SID. I think Kenyatta is, there he is. If you can raise your hand, Kenyatta, so Marcus can move you over. There you go. So this is support also for the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities for a mixed media mural photography project. So Patrick, this is your area.
Yeah, I'll say a few words. So this is an application for some mixed media stuff that would be going onto 4.5 Street, which is off of K Street and sort of the Prathers Alley area, all of that sort of together. So it's a really exciting, it's an area with a lot of potential. So it'll be an interesting presentation. So I'll turn it over to Kenyatta.
Great, thanks a
Is
lot.
Andreas, who is the person who's their hand? Is that she's supposed to be on here too? No.
Yeah, we have a few other people, Mark Lawrence and Sharia from L Studio, Adriana Navarro Sertich from Urban Seed, and Noe Todorovich.
Okay, so Marcus will move them over. Okay. Thank you, Marcus.
Everyone on the team, please raise your hand. So thanks a lot, commissioners. And yet another request for support for the commission support for a PABC project-based grant for a mixed media photography and mural project on the 400 block of K Street Northwest, as well as the 900 block of 4.5 Street Northwest, also known as Prathers Alley. We understand that this ANC has received multiple requests for support, so just a respectful reminder that support letters are not exclusive. I'll also note that we have the support of all 3 building owners that are proposed for mural installation. Joining me tonight, as I mentioned previously, are our partners from L Studio, including Mark Lawrence and Sharia Sharada, Urban Seed, represented by Adriana Navarro Sertich, and Expose CC, led by Noe Todorovich. And so with that, I'll defer to my colleagues who will lead everyone through our presentation.
Can everyone see I'm sharing a screen. Can everyone see the, oh, good. Okay. Great.
That's perfect, Mark, thank you. Should we move one slide over? Perfect. Yes, so as quickly mentioned, this is for, in terms of the location, we're looking at basically the extent of K Street between 4th and 5th Street, and then wrapping around Prathers Alley, basically going down what's currently now is 4.5 Street, joining K and I. Kenyatta already quickly introduced us, so we'll just jump quickly here. And before I pass it over to Mark to get a little bit more into the specifics of the actual content of the scope, just wanted to do a very quick recap in terms of some of the previous work and community engagement that has gone on related to this project. So first, a survey was done in 2018, fall of 2018, really looking at the uses, safety components in the alley. I'm not going to dive too much into detail here. We will share the presentation. Obviously, we'll be happy to answer any specific questions. There was just seeing the potentials that the alley presented, also the high use of it. There was a community charrette done in 2019. Basically, doing an exercise with the community, looking at what the ideal alley would be. So really looking at what different programs could come and become part of the alley. And from all these programs, this was one of the results of a voting process to select the scheme, but this was kind of the overall program that was selected, focusing primarily on a market basically at the interior of the alley, along with traffic calming and pedestrian safety aspects, and art and lighting coming through. Just want to be clear that what we're presenting here is specifically related to the art, kind of vertical art and lighting component of the alley. This, if you don't mind going forward, Mark, is just to show that there has been additional community engagement quite recently, specifically looking at smaller focus groups that took place in the alley. We'll continue to run some of these, some of the questions really related to the placemaking aspects. So looking at what some of the favorite memories are in Mount Vernon Triangle, things that particularly, some of the residents, business owners, business workers would like to highlight about the neighborhood, best thing about living and working in DC and Mount Vernon Triangle as well. And from all of these, kind of getting this idea or this word cloud that you saw in the previous slide that will inform some of the designs and also the themes that are being explored and kind of introduced into the design. With that, I will pass it over. I don't believe yes, Noe is connected. I will pass it over to Noe so she can dive a little bit more into some of the themes that are being explored.
Yeah, so we wanted to share some images to provide some
context about like the inspiration of the project and the idea that we're looking to explore. Our goal is to have 3 shows that explore the past, present, and future of the area. And so these first 2 images are actually archival images of some of the things that have inspired what you'll see a little bit later in the presentation. So the old bowling alley and the Northern Liberty Market. And then the other photos are from 4 photographers that we've invited to participate in this project and just showing some samples of their work. So I'm happy to provide some more information about them, but this is kind of just to give you a quick snapshot of the type of images and photographers that would be involved in the project. And then that's for the first iteration. We would also want to do an open call for the present, because we would look to explore past, present, future. So for the present aspect, we were thinking we could do an open call and have people actually submit and be part of this activation.
So just to talk about the 2 areas where art will be displayed, there's sort of 2 things that we'll show you tonight in terms of location. This is an axon of K Street, 4.5 Street, and then I Street. And so you'll see the areas highlighted in blue, which are vertical surfaces in 4.5 Street, Prather's Alley, that will be places where art, we're proposing art can be displayed. And then it's hard to see here, but we'll show some zoomed in locations that we will show these kind of stations that will be mounted along the planter boxes along K Street as well. And so you can see in plan these little blue dots where my cursor is. There's we walked the site and discovered some good locations that don't break into any kind of sidewalk or public space, but they attach to the planter box as a location for art along K Street, and then surfaces along buildings within the alley as well are potential locations. And here you can see a kind of rendering of these small, I think they're roughly 18 by 24 sized frames that can be mounted to the planter locations here along K Street to highlight some of that potential art that Noe spoke about. And then you can see looking east down along K Street along the other side. So they kind of nestle themselves into, here we're showing an axon of how these displays would be mounted to the existing fence. And then in the alley itself, we're showing a little bit of recalling the part of the old market that had the vaulted roof and the old bowling alley become the kind of backdrop and framework for displaying additional photography along walls along both sides of Prather's Alley, 4.5 Street. Here you can see a view from K Street looking down 4.5 Street as a kind of way of guiding people that there is something down there and there's sort of more to see from K Street. And then looking down south along 4.5 Street, you can see potential locations on either side where photography can be displayed. And then at the intersection, some of the, we're thinking that a lot of the this artwork will be done in a vinyl so that it could be removed at some point. It's not permanent, but it's a durable, hopefully long-lasting kind of development in the alley. And then also showing a potential mural location at the intersection. We're being kind of vague with these kind of blue frames because obviously the artwork hasn't fully been accepted. So we're trying, or selected. So we're trying to create a kind of display or framework for where these things can go. And then looking south, east in the alley as well.
If I just may add to that, Mark, the part of the intent is also to inform. Some of these are shown as placeholders. They will evolve as we get also more community feedback, both in terms of the design and then some of the photography content as well. So just wanted to point that out.
So that's the end of the presentation. We're ending here on 2 slides. The slide on the left is just looking at one of the samples of the intersection in the alley, and then the slide on the right is along K Street looking east. And we open up for questions from the group.
I'm sorry, for unmute. Could you take down your presentation?
Sure.
Any questions from the commissioners about this wonderful project coming?
You know, I do have one question. I know that the, and this may be more of a Kenyatta question than for the project team. I'm just curious about how this may coordinate with or overlap with the effort to make that alley one way, or 4th and a half Street one way. And if there are concerns about pedestrian safety with vehicles moving through this narrow alley with now art and reasons to stop and reasons to loiter, and whether or not that may be a negative or maybe it's a positive to have more people in the space. Just any thoughts that you have about, you know, how this may connect with pedestrian safety along that 4th and a half Street.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the question. And I think this is a good time to update the commission on our efforts to make that alley one way. We've already had a scoping conversation with DDOT and our selected consultant, Grove Slade, which has done a lot of traffic consulting work in and around our area. And we actually followed up with Grove Slade earlier today, just on some of the specific requirements that they're going to either provide or get from DDOT to begin their analysis. And so their analysis should be done in about the next 30 days. So that's where we are with respect to that. We also heard from the TAC last week, very loud and clear, when we presented to them our ideas and designs for some of the more traffic safety components of this project, which is a separate scope. We heard from the TAC loud and clear that it was their preference that this space be more in the style of a WRNF, whereby pedestrians and non-motorists are given precedence and right of way, as opposed to streaming those two uses, vehicles and non-vehicles, in separate channels, right? And so if we take that feedback and in terms of making this space more of a pedestrian-focused space, then we believe that you know, the commingling of the mobility movements as well as the artistic elements should pair together in a way that should be safe for the individuals who are in the alley and partaking in the artistic experience. And I'll defer to my colleagues as well for anything they may want to share.
Anything else?
I think you got it.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the commissioners? Any questions from the community? Press *9 if you're on the phone, or use the raise your hand feature. No. Okay, Patrick, if you want to go ahead and make a motion.
Sure. So I move that ANC 6E support the Mount Vernon Triangle SIDS application for a DC Commission on Arts and Humanities Public Arts Building Communities Grant for a mixed media mural photography project along the 400 block of K Street Northwest, as well as within Prather's Alley, and communicate that support to the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities.
Okay, any questions about the motion, commissioners? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Kevin seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Denise. Okay, great. Okay, motion passes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great, Denise. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, everyone who zoomed in.
Thank you.
We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Thanks.
Okay. Hooray. Okay, Alex Lopez, it's all you now.
Okay, thank you. So the first item on the Transportation Committee section deals with the Near Northwest 3 Safety and Mobility Study. This study we've talked about, I think, several times at the ANC. It focuses in on traffic safety improvements at the intersection level. And the DDOT team responsible for the study has selected a number of intersections in our ANC to receive traffic safety improvements. We talked about 2 of these intersections, 2 of the more complicated intersections at the TAC last weekend, namely, and they're both in Commissioner Eichler's district, so I'll let him lead on the resolutions, but intersections are the intersection of 11th Street, Q Street, and Rhode Island Avenue Northwest, and 11th Street and Vermont Avenue Northwest. And just for the benefit of the commission, I will share my screen, and then Commissioner Eichler, maybe while I do this, or once I share, I think I'm going to start with the 11th and see if I can find it. Yeah. Once I share this, would you like to talk a little bit about this intersection improvement and what your recommendation would be for this, for ANC action on this intersection?
Yeah, sure. Well, just one other note is that the proposal does actually include an extension of a bicycle lane along Rhode Island, kind of even beyond to the right of what's on the screen right now. So there is a second page that has an additional image. So it's not just the intersection. It's kind of spans out to the east a little bit, but we can talk about that in a second. In general, I think this is a really compelling and bold proposal from DDOT. They're proposing to actually take a peak period, normally peak period travel lane along Rhode Island Avenue and convert it to a bicycle lane, which is a much needed connection in the Q Street bicycle lane, which currently terminates at 11th Street, and then bikes merge with cars in that dual left turn lane there. They're sort of left to fend for themselves on the 3 lanes of Rhode Island Avenue, and then eventually merging, either turning right onto 10th, where there's a bike lane, or also continuing along Rhode Island Avenue to 12th, which to Q, which resumes in front of the Seton Elementary property. So making this connection is a bold maneuver on the part of DDOT. And I'm very excited to see that they're interested in making these sorts of bold statements here. There are a couple other aspects that we are interested in, maybe some additional enhancements about. I'll just go ahead and mention them now. I feel like if I mention them now, I'm going to have to mention them again as part of the resolution. I don't want to say them twice. So I'll say them now, and then we'll roll them into so there's basically five primary things that we would like to provide feedback on for this piece. One of them is that there's an opportunity for a crosswalk on the south side of Q Street crossing 11th. Alex, if you want to wiggle your mouse over that little spot there. There's currently a pedestrian signal head there, but there is no crosswalk. So providing a safe space for people to cross on that side of the street. They're crossing anyway, so we might as well make it safe for them. Additionally, there are concerns with at the corner of 11th and Rhode Island. There's a coffee shop there, the Roasted Boon, and they have expressed concerns with the ability for being able to have loading and also potential pickup and drop off area in front of their storefront. And we're asking DDOT to accommodate deliveries, loading for the coffee shop, as well as this, as well as incorporating these designs, because this design does actually include making a direct connection from 11th northbound to the right up Rhode Island Avenue to continue on to Q Street. And that would require the removal of 2 off-peak parking spaces, short-term parking spaces that are currently in front of the cafe. There is also an opportunity to provide some clarity to pedestrians who are moving, pedestrians and bikes that are moving along Rhode Island Avenue, crossing 10th Street. There is currently a crosswalk, but there's a traffic signal, but there is no pedestrian signal head. There is no signal for pedestrians whether or not they have the right of way or not. the answer to that is that they don't necessarily need one, because there's never a cross traffic that's permitted to cross that crosswalk. That's protected to cross the crosswalk. The only traffic there is right turns from Rhode Island southbound at the 10th. There are some questions about whether or not bikes have to stop at that red light or not, that red signal. So providing some additional clarity there. And then the fifth element would be to incorporate into this design on the next picture, a previous request from the TAC, as well as I believe the ANC, that asked for additional turn hardening here for cars that are going from Rhode Island Avenue and turning onto Q. Right now, they take that turn at a very high rate of speed, and pedestrians are required to look over their shoulders, sort of in a more than 90-degree angle way, to ensure that they're crossing the street safely. And some turn hardening there could very easily be accommodated, and that we believe GDOT already has a design. It's just a matter of the two different designs that are being merged. So that's my general assessment of the 5 elements of feedback that I would like the ANC to provide on this proposal. That's my summary. I'd be welcome to hear any other comments from other commissioners.
Yeah, I just want to chime in to say that of the several intersections that have proposed enhancements through the study, this is the one that I've received the most enthusiastic feedback from constituents. And, you know, anyone in our neighborhood, if you've ridden a bike across town, you know how important the R Street, Q Street couplet is for providing that bike connectivity. And the gap here at Rhode Island Avenue has always just been a very precarious and kind of scary connection to make, especially for those inexperienced or less experienced bikers that we really want to encourage to get on, you know, get in the saddle and get out of the car. So providing this protection is going to greatly enhance the utility of the Q Street bike lane, and the kind of perceived and actual safety of using that as a crosstown connection.
Okay. Anything else from any of the other commissioners? Okay, can you take these? Can you guys take this down?
Oh, the presentation.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All righty. Okay. Any questions from the community? Our loyal listeners that are still with us about this? This is very good. Oh, I see Alex Padros. He's on our side.
Yeah, somehow I never went back to the pool there. So I want to thank Commissioner Eichler for raising the concern about Roasted Boone. New business was rather shocked to find themselves pinned in between 2 different, bicycle lanes, cycle tracks, and I'm very eager to see how DDOT comes up with a resolution there. But I really do want to emphasize that DDOT does need to come up with some kind of a win-win to address the queuing of the buses that pick up from Seton Elementary and drop off at Seton Elementary from the front entrance, basically at the crosswalk. So I'm sure that there's a way to have our cake and eat it too, but right now, especially in the afternoons, I commonly see 3 or 4 buses backed up on Rhode Island Avenue in what is currently what is proposed to be the cycle lane. So that would only leave 1 lane of through traffic on Rhode Island Avenue. So yeah, I'm also eager to see what DDOT comes up with to address that. And I think that Commissioner Eichler had made some suggestions about moving the pickup and drop off to Woodson Park. But the devil is in the details, and I certainly want to make sure that we don't ignore the needs of the school in trying to accommodate the needs of bicyclists for safety. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I actually neglected that one in my and I had them up on another screen. I just didn't pull the right window open. So thank you for that addition there.
Okay, Alex. Alex, you're we don't know why we can't move you, but there you are now for the rest of the meeting. Okay, so anyone else have any questions about this or comments? Star 9 or use the raise your hand feature. Okay.
Okay, so no additional comments. I'm just going to quickly share my screen, which actually has the 5 bullets of the motion, so I don't have to say them again. But in general, you know.
Well, Karen's going to be listening to this.
Oh, she's going to be,
This
well,
is-
but it's already written. It's already written in this draft
You're
motion.
just going to say them. You're just going to do it.
Okay, all right, that's, you got it, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
so wait.
All right,
Okay.
I move that 6C support the near Northwest 3 safety mobility study draft design for the intersection of 11th and Q and Rhode Island Streets Northwest with the following concerns, maybe a little bit, that should be addressed during subsequent design. 1, accommodating the needs of the business at 1018 Rhode Island Avenue to accommodate safe deliveries around the project area. 2, add a crosswalk striping on the southbound edge of Q Street as it crosses 11th to match the existing pedestrian signal head. 3, incorporate previous GDOT designs to add turn hardening to the to Rhode Island and Q. 4, accommodate the needs of Seton Elementary buses that currently drop off students at the corner of Rhode Island and Q and find out a safer location for drop-offs. And 5, address the current confusion around the lack of pedestrian signal on the south side of Rhode Island where it crosses 10th Street Northwest.
Any questions about the motion? No. Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
Alex seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Kevin, unmute
Hi.
yourself. Kevin. Kevin.
Aye.
Kevin.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Okay.
Aye.
Motion passes. Great.
Okay. For this next one, we have less specific feedback, but this is the intersection of Vermont and 11th Street, kind of at the northwest corner of Commissioner Eichler's district. Commissioner Eichler, would you like to just do a quick rundown? I don't think we need to go as in depth here.
Yeah, sure. In general, this improvement simply allows cars to know where they should be and where they should not be. Unfortunately, the road here is wider than it needs to be, and there's excess roadway space that is, and when there's excess roadway space, cars often use it, and oftentimes that reduces safety and increases speeds. So there's a lot of paint that looks to be going on the roadway here, and that's a lot of roadway space that needs to be sort of rationalized, and we're looking forward to seeing how this may pan out. Actually, there's another so this is the portion that's actually in 6E01 is that intersection, the corner that is on the right hand side of that satellite and on the southern side of S. So it's S across the top and 11th north to south. So it actually doesn't really impact that much of the roadway area within 6E01. Really, most of the work is actually to the north and to the west of us. But it looks like an interesting project. It hardens some turns to and from Vermont, which slow traffic and increase safety. It provides some bicycle protection there along this area as well of a lot of confusion really for cars. So we're looking forward to seeing how this one would play out as well.
Yeah, and interestingly, there's bike lanes. They're proposing converting some of this angle parking on 11th Street, removing this and putting bike lanes in. There's a ton of parking in this area, so that's not a huge concern of mine. But with the addition of this bike lane here at S Street, as well as the bike lane from the previous intersection we've looked at on Q Street, we're getting very close to kind of 2 segments that might one day hopefully connect to a contiguous segment that goes all the way downtown. But with that, any commissioner questions on this or? Okay.
Okay, any community questions? Press *9 or use the raise your hand feature. Okay.
All right, so it's easy enough to just pull this up again and read it for the record, which is that I move that 6E support the near Northwest 3 safety mobility study draft design for the intersection of 11th Street and Vermont Avenue Northwest, noting the designs will provide safe refuge for pedestrians, slower turn movements, better protection for bicycles. Additionally, DDOT should consider longer term changes for safer accommodations at this intersection, including closing one of the Vermont Avenue slip lanes and/or consider eliminating diagonal parking on 11th Street to create a more connected bike lane from Vermont to Rhode Island.
Okay, any questions about the motion, commissioners? Nope. Do I have a second?
A second.
Alex seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Kevin? Kevin?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you for that one.
Okay. And now, let's see. Okay, so this should be really brief. This next item is a DDOT notice of intent to install an always stop control at the intersection of 8th and R Street Northwest. This is something that this commission has requested of DDOT previously, and now they're getting around to doing it. This intersection in particular connects the Shaw Metro Station with the Shaw Library, and so it's used by broad swath of our community. Currently, the current intersection control is that there is a stop on the 8th Street approach, but there's no stop for vehicles traveling west on R Street. So this would transform the intersection into an always stop. The TAC proposed or recommended that the ANC support with the recommendation that that DDOT take a look at signal timing at the intersection of 9th and R Street. And so with that, Commissioner Eichler, do you want to make a motion?
Sure thing. I've got, so I move that 6E support the notice of intent, or actually, I think we'll provide a letter of support for the notice of intent for the always stop at 8th and R Streets Northwest, and request that DDOT consider changes to signal timing at the intersection of 9th and Northwest that may result from this change as necessary to ensure safety and reduce speeding.
Any questions about the motion? Okay, do I have a second? Alex, that was you, Alex. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Aye.
Yay, Denise. Okay. Okay, that's it, right, Alex?
There's one. Yeah, that's for transportation. That's it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, great. Okay, so next we have, this is for our loyal listeners that are still here with us. This is actually significant because we have been meeting virtually since April of 2020. And there is now, we will be told what we're going to do after July 25th. And so it's been asked for the commissions throughout the city, to support a hybrid model, go back in person. So we're going to have a discussion about this because Alex Lopez wrote a resolution. I don't know if you want to show it, Alex, or we can just talk through it. So I have an opinion.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Let me introduce the resolution, then we'll welcome any discussion. Just to provide a little bit more context, in normal times, ANCs are by law required to meet in person to conduct any business. And we are allowed to meet virtually due to the mayor's declared public health emergency and supporting emergency legislation. That emergency legislation expires on September 5th, which is 2 days before our next meeting, which means that barring any changes to the any extension of the emergency legislation and the public health emergency, which I kind of think won't happen, or a change to the DC code, ANCs across the district will be required to return to in-person meetings starting in September, including ours. The resolution that I drafted is requesting the, well, first of all, it acknowledges the fact that what we've seen today, that virtual meetings are well attended, and that they accommodate a lot of different busy life schedules where people may not be able to schlep out to a library on a cold December evening, as Commissioner Nigro put it, and that's very fair and that's true. The other half of that coin is that we also have residents in our community who either may not have access to broadband or a device capable of streaming our meetings, or either may not have the the digital acumen, or may just prefer to attend in-person meetings. And so in an effort to, I think that in order to be representative of all of the residents that we serve, it's incumbent that we not exclude those left behind by the digital divide merely because we have a preference for doing things one way rather than another way that may be more inclusive. So the resolution that I drafted is compatible with a letter that was circulated. It was signed on a letter from ANC commissioners across the district that was circulated last month, and it requests a couple different things. It requests, so I'll just read this here. Be it resolved that ANC 6E requests that the DC Council make necessary changes to the DC Code to enable ANCs to conduct commission meetings in a hybrid meeting format, wherein commissioners and residents can participate either in person or virtually. 2, be it further resolved that ANC 6E requests that the DC Council make necessary changes to the DC Code to enable ANCs to determine the schedule for return to in-person or hybrid meetings based on the actual needs of the communities that each ANC serves. So this acknowledges that community needs differ in terms of, across the city in terms of vaccination rates, also in terms of just kind of community readiness and commissioner readiness, I think, to return to in-person meetings. And so this would provide commissions, including ANC 6E, with that flexibility to define our own return to in-person or return to hybrid as it may be schedule. Third, resolve the ANC 6E requests that DC Council allocate to the advice. This is a special purpose revenue fund, the Advisory Neighborhood Commission Technical Support and Assistance Fund, sufficient funding to allow ANCs to transition to a hybrid meeting format in the fiscal year 2022 budget. This special purpose revenue fund was created through the fiscal year 2021 budget to support activities of the ANCs, including ensuring that ANCs have access to remote meeting technologies necessary for their operations, and providing or procuring audio-visual technology and services to support advisory neighborhood commissions. Despite the fact that this revenue fund was created in FY21, none of the funds that were allocated to this special revenue fund have been dispersed to ANCs thus far. It looks like this fund is going to continue into FY22. So we want to request that, if we are going to consider hybrid meetings, we're going to need additional resources, technological resources, administrative resources, and things of that nature. And so this fund is meant to be used for that purpose, and it should be. Which brings me to the final part of the resolution, that ANC 6E requests that the DC Council instruct the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions to actually disperse said funds allocated to the Advisory Neighborhood Commission Technical Support and Assistance Fund to facilitate ANCs to transition to a hybrid meeting format. So I have, so that's kind of the encapsulation of the resolution. I've heard some feedback from Commissioner Nigro, and I'll turn it over to you, but I'm also interested to hear other commissioners, what you're, given the kind of constraints that we're under in terms of that we, according to the current law, that we must return to in-person meetings in September. I think that it's important for us to say something at this juncture. I also think that the DC Council has an opportunity through the FY22 Budget Support Act to make necessary changes to the DC code to enable us to conduct our meetings in a hybrid stature.
Okay. All right, so just, I mean, I'll just be brief with my comments because can you take this down for a second?
Sure.
So for anyone who's still on the call with us, and for the commissioners who are here, and especially for the commissioners Frank and Kevin and myself, who lived through many years of in-person meetings, to be perfectly frank with everyone, no one really came a whole lot. So we would have our presenters come, and then they would leave, and we would literally have the same 10 to 15 people every month. So, which is great. We love those same 10 to 15 people every month. They were fantastic. We appreciate their support. But the way we do it now, we have gotten, as you have acknowledged, Alex, many, many more people. And it has provided, and I do disagree with that one paragraph in there. We have given access to our constituents via phone number. So as I said in the email, for commissioners that have not provided access via phone number, that is horrible. But that said, we just get so much more participation. And I feel that with the hybrid, it'll be more complicated. And we are volunteers, and to make things complicated for who, either on the attendee side or on our side, why, right? This works, you know, and I'm not a fan of running the meeting. We all know that, but it is not about me. It is about our constituents, and they love it. My seniors that I pass out my paper flyer to every month, they love it. They can call in or not call in. They can eat their dinner, drink their martini, whatever. It just seems better. With the hybrid model, I feel that, I hope we can figure it out, but to add on another layer and have basically, I feel, 2 meetings at the same time will just make it more complicated. I don't know. So other commissioners.
Well, I think the people who don't come to a real meeting, those who care enough, they probably go to the video. But I think if you're going to go to a hybrid, you almost need to hire somebody. Like you pay Karen, you would need a third person or another person just to do that, rather than that being put on the shoulders of the chair, assistant chair, or anybody else, because that's a lot going on at the same time. Great idea, but it's going to be several moving parts. And keep in mind, library closes at 9. They put us out at 9:45. They actually have a police officer there to put us out. So we're going to have to kind of curtail our meetings to kind of get everything in it without having to be put out every month. So that means that person got to take the equipment up, put it up, take it down, have the time to do it. So all that needs to be considered.
That's right. And Frank, I forgot it, but thanks for bringing that up. When we always had the input, we had to be out by 8:30 and we're racing. So all this lovely conversation that we have that, I get dinged for because the meeting goes on, but I like to hear the conversation, and I think you guys do too, that would end. And so, am I right, Frank?
That is right. They're putting you
right.
out. They were
All
police
this lovely
officer.
conversation would end. Because of the wherever we are, say if it is the library, we have to get out. If it's not the library, then maybe that's negotiable. But any of the libraries which aren't open, whatever the story is, we could have a potential definitive end time. Whereas this, we just blah, blah, blah for hours. So that's an important part. Okay, who else?
Well, I mean, just to respond to that, part of the resolution is that we have this special purpose revenue fund that's meant to assist ANCs with their audiovisual needs, and request would be that we allocate, the commission not the commission, the council allocates funds sufficient that ANCs are able to hire administrative, technological, whatever they need in order to get on the hybrid bandwagon, and truly make this an accessible format for meaningful civic engagement for all of our residents.
Okay, so who else? Denise?
I would offer that I think there are two things ahead of us, actually, right? There's like the policy law question about which way we should kind of move the city council, how should they write the law? And then there's the question of how ANC 6E would implement whatever flexibility if the law was passed. So I would offer that we pass a resolution that says, hey, give ANCs maximum flexibility. They can choose whether it's in-person all, virtual all, or a hybrid. And that should be, in my opinion, our resolution. And then we deal with the question of how ANC 6E would implement any change to the law. And that's assuming that they take our recommendation. That's assuming if they change the law anyway, like we can deal with the how we do it logistics question when we actually have some real legal standing on to make that decision. But for now, I think we should opt for max flexibility for ANCs.
I agree. We get choices, right? Right. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Michael.
Oh, I want to hear Denise.
Okay, Denise.
I agree also. We should have choices. I don't think it should be one way. I also agree.
Yeah, great. And I like the idea of thinking outside of the box a little bit too. Like, we could provide a room in a library where there are laptops set up, and people from the community who don't have the resources at home can show up in a meeting in person, and they can sit at a laptop and participate in a virtual meeting, right? Like, we could be providing the technology so we could stay at home and everyone else could go somewhere. Anyone who needed to go somewhere to be part of a meeting could go to a place and log on, right? So we have like a virtual sort of hybrid doesn't have to be that we're all in a room together, all on our laptops with cameras pointing at us and people walking in. Like, we could all be virtual unless you want to show up in person with the 6 other people who show up in person, and everyone, like, it could be a mostly virtual with an in-person option for people who need it, and we could provide the technology to do that, right? As just a crazy idea kind of thrown against the wall. But I agree with Patrick's sentiment that we should be asking for maximum flexibility, and that we should be allowed to implement a virtual sort of hybrid in-person meeting in a way that best serves ourselves, and that we as a commission should be able to make that decision. And we should be able to use our funds and additional support funds to perhaps like purchase additional hardware that can be used by other people who want to participate and don't have access to technology.
Kevin, do you have any comments?
Don't make the problem longer than the solution.
Yes.
That's my thought on it.
There you go. Agree 100%. So I've already been thinking about this because I'm going to have to deal with it. So, I mean, I said to Alex earlier that whether we go to the library or not library, both libraries have horrible internet. So there's that problem. And so we've got to worry about the bandwidth of the location. If we do some sort of in-person, we don't have to go to a library, right? We can find another place. Patrick's got a lovely new hotel. Maybe they would have a space. Who knows? But clearly we got to figure this out within 2 months. I noticed, when I logged on, like maybe we could do the live YouTube at the same time. We'll figure something out. But as with Patrick said, we just need the flexibility. And as I said earlier, that we should be given a choice, whatever works well for the community, whether we all hybrid, all in person, or all virtual, I think would suit. Alex?
Okay, so if I could just kind of go back to Patrick's recommendation, which I think is fair. I think that there are two questions. I think that the question about if ANC 60 has the flexibility to do in-person, remote, or hybrid in September, what are we going to do? I don't think that we need to necessarily answer that question tonight. That we don't need a resolution on that, I don't think, right? Do we? Okay. So let's focus on, focus on asking council for what we want. And it sounds like I'm outnumbered in terms of hybrid versus maximum flexibility. I still think that there are some residents who may not be as able to access our meetings in a,
They
unless
call,
there was
Alex. They call. They call. The
Yeah,
phone number's the
call-
best.
calling a phone number it does not provide the same level of meaningful civic engagement. But that's my opinion. I think I'm outnumbered here. So let me share my screen, and I think that we can make some conforming changes that will make people happy.
I mean, thank God for the phone number Denise was able to call. So we need the phone number.
Okay, so I think that here, no, it's the first one. ANC 60 requests the DC Council make necessary changes to DC code to enable ANCs to conduct commission meetings in a virtual, hybrid, and or in-person meeting format.
It kind of already said that, didn't it?
Yeah, isn't that what hybrid means?
No,
Well,
hybrid is
hybrid-
at the same time.
Yeah, I think hybrid here is the default is that we're in person, but there is an opportunity to Zoom in.
So I like what you just typed just a second ago.
Okay.
So the hybrid I'm interpreting is that they're the two things simultaneously happening at the same time.
Right, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Does that, and then, other ANCs may do things differently, right? And we're not committing to anything right now. We'll continue to have these conversations over the next 2 months about what ANC 6E does if it actually has some flexibility here.
Could we actually add the language to this that Patrick used, which is to DC code to provide ANCs with the flexibility to conduct meetings in, right?
And how would you phrase it in what's good for that commission? Or I don't know. How would you say? Am I saying that right?
Or to decide for themselves and to
Yeah.
decide for themselves the best format.
Okay. Okay. How about with the flexibility to determine for themselves the the
Best practices.
best format for conducting commission meetings, whether virtual, hybrid, or in person. Whether a virtual, hybrid, or in-person meeting format.
What's the best platform?
ANC 6E requests that the DC Council make necessary changes to the DC code to provide ANCs with flexibility to determine for themselves the best format for conducting commission meetings, whether it be a virtual, hybrid, or in-person meeting format. Does that make sense? And are people okay with that?
Commissioners?
Yeah.
I am. Yep.
Okay.
Alex or Michael?
Yeah, no, it's good, and I'm sort of trying to decide how the second paragraph here doesn't just duplicate what's already in the first one.
I think that the second paragraph should be. Yeah, I guess the second paragraph. This is about like what.
Well, this the schedule.
The schedule, yeah.
The timeline. Okay. To enable. Sure. You could just reference back to the first to the first one thing, that to determine the schedule for transitioning to a new meeting format as described above.
As authorized or as described
Proposed
above, based on the actual needs of the communities that each ANC serves. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. And then this is all about funding, which I think
yeah.
Councilmember White was pretty upset with Gottlieb in the oversight hearing about why are we putting this money in this fund when you're not using it to help ANCs run their virtual meetings.
So, I mean, clearly we need to update the language there to refer to, yeah, exactly.
Keep in mind all that, we have $40,000+ in the kitty on a monthly basis, so we don't need additional funding. We just need permission to use those funds to benefit the ANC, as you were.
Council has allocated that funding specifically for this. I don't think that I would prefer that we not use our
we don't use it now.
Well, either way, we have plenty of money.
Yeah.
We got either,
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, but not all ANCs do.
Well, a lot of them got money.
They got money.
They don't spend it down. So, but I have a concern about this paragraph about not accessible. Can you move it back up, Alex?
Yeah.
The first little paragraph.
Oh, yeah. Here.
Oh, wait, no, go. Where would it go? I guess it's on the bottom of page 1. Okay, so this one, I don't have a problem with the second paragraph talking about the digital divide, but for our commission, we have clearly provided that phone number and we have been accessible. So I would prefer that be either taken out or, we have provided that access.
So, I mean, my position is that dialing into a Zoom meeting does not provide the same level of access or opportunity to participate in that meeting. Just as, we wouldn't want our children calling into their virtual classroom, right? They wouldn't get the same level of instruction.
I mean, I clearly I feel differently because it has been helpful to many members of the community. I mean, do the other commissioners care except for me?
Well, I would say that, we don't have the data, but, for every person who calls in, or maybe for every 3 people that call in, we might get 1 person in person, right? So like clearly having a phone in option it's better than nothing, right? Yes. And it's enabling more than it is disabling, I would think. And if we wanted to, we could have our agenda finalized a week before every meeting. We could have all of the agenda meeting materials printed, and someone could come and pick up hard copies if they really wanted to follow along on the phone. But we're not doing that because that provides us the flexibility of actually kind of freewheeling it up to the last minute and making sure that we have the most up-to-date information on our ability to act on it, right? So I think that the jury is out on whether or not providing a phone number is actually less or more accessible, because the alternative from the past was no phone number. That's right. And a lot of people couldn't make it in person. So I would agree with Rochelle that this paragraph is a little too, it's not factual enough, I think, in order for me to want to support it as part of this resolution.
What about something like potentially impede access for some members of our community?
How about virtual commission meetings may still create new barriers. new barriers.
No, come on, Alex, just we.
That was a
The
killing
phone
me.
number has been very helpful. I mean, give us some credit. For Pete's sake.
You're not going
Okay.
to reach everybody. Everybody doesn't call in. Each of us have 2,000 people that we represent, and we get less than 5% that call in.
Yeah.
Or
Thanks
you're
for
not going to
acknowledging that,
beat every
Frank.
single.
We represent over 14,000 constituents, and I hate to break it to you, most of them don't care.
Don't care.
All
Well, they
right,
do.
that's the reality of it.
That's the reality.
Okay, I
Hooray
took
for
it
the
out.
people that are still on the call.
I took it out.
Take it out.
All right, are we happy with
Okay.
this?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anybody left on the call?
Can you take, why don't you take that down for a second?
Yeah.
Oh, hooray. We do.
Okay,
See, these are the people that are going to show up to our in-person. Remember these names. All right, everyone happy then? Okay, I guess so. Okay. All right, Alex, why don't you go ahead and make a motion?
Just want any community comment because it's really.
Oh, I'm sorry, community comment for the people that are
Community,
showing
right.
up at this in-person meeting. Anyone have any community comments? Oh my gosh, Rachel, hooray! Marcus, move Rachel over. She's our loyal listener. There you go, Rachel. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. I actually support this letter 100% and want to thank all of you for considering accessibility options. As Michael has pointed out, there's a myriad of options that can be utilized for meetings going forward. If you ever have any questions, you know where to find me, but I do want to thank all of you for taking this into consideration. I also would like to add that Alex's agendas are awesome.
Yeah.
Being able to pull it up, yeah, but also click through and see things and go back and reference them has made a huge difference. Another thing, Rochelle, I should thank you on this, I suppose, is limiting the amount of cameras that are on meetings now. Oh my gosh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Some people love the little faces. Some people love the faces, but we've eliminated the faces.
It's become so much easier to follow along with who's saying what. So I think that makes a big difference too with the new formats of the meetings as well.
All righty.
But I definitely support the letter. When you're talking about accessibility, it's just to say accessibility for all, because you could get into a booklet and I don't want to have to write it for you. But going forward, if you do have questions, please, all of you, feel free. You have my information. Reach out to me at any time.
Okay, Rachel, thank you for always coming and hanging on to the bitter end.
I love you all. You gotta stay. You gotta know what's going on.
Hearts. Okay.
Yes, all hearts.
All hearts. I'll tweet you. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So
Anyone
let's wrap
else?
this
I
up.
think we're in it. Okay. All right. We're ready.
Okay, so I'm going to move move that the ANC 6E adopt the resolution as modified. Do I have a second?
Second.
Michael seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great,
And we'll
motion passes.
communicate this to
Frank?
council. And I think it
Frank?
needs to be pretty
Aye,
quick
okay.
if we want to get it in the BSA. So
Motion
I'll
passes.
work with you, Commissioner Negro. Okay.
All right. Now it's Frank's turn. Oh, no, wait, approval of the minutes. So we have 2 minutes. We have the June 1st minutes and from our special meeting on May 18th. Does anyone have any questions? Or hadn't missed anything? They can send it to Karen. Okay. All right, I move that ANC 6E approve the minutes for June 1st and May 18th of 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Patrick seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Okay, Frank, it's all you.
All right, we have some expenses to pay. I move that ANC 6E reimburse Michelle Nigro $164.29 for the reimbursement of the cost of the Zoom meetings or the meetings for this past month, provided I get a second.
Second.
Okay, oh, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Kevin, okay, motion passes, thank you.
I move the ANC 6E support the reimbursement of expenses to Michelle Nigro of $28.94 for the cost of copies of the agenda. Provided I get a second.
Michael seconds.
Second.
Or Michael, are you seconding?
Second.
Michael's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion passes.
Two more. I move the ANC support the payment of $125 to Karen Yaley for the virtual special public meeting that took place on May 18th, 2021. Again, an amount of $125.
Second.
Patrick seconds, all in favor? Aye.
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 Great, motion passes, thank
I
you.
move the ANC support the payment of $250 to Karen Yaley for the virtual public meeting minutes, as well as the updating of the website for this past month, provided I can get a second.
Second.
Michael seconds, all in favor? Aye.
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 Kevin?
All right.
Kevin? Aye. Okay.
I got
Okay, great.
One last thing. Earlier today, I sent all the commissioners a copy of the checking account. I sent you a copy of the quarterly financial report, FY21 Q3. I sent you a copy of the treasurer's report, as well as the copy of the 2021 budget and what we have spent thus far. A copy of the online checking account that's also monitored by the Office of ANC, as well as the transaction for this past quarter. I have balanced to zero. We all the different documents all say the same thing. We have $46,325.07 in the bank, totally reconciled, zero balance. When I report to the office or to the auditor's office, this would be the information that I provide to them, along with a whole lot of other data that they require me to submit. Provided I can get a second, if that makes sense to you.
What's your motion?
I move that ANC support the acceptance of the treasurer's report and the quarterly financial report FY21 Q3 that states that we currently have, as of June 30th, $46,325.07 in the bank. And now you have been given the documents to provide to coincide with what I'm stating to you.
Any questions on the
Second.
motion? Michael seconds, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. We all said, Frank?
I'm good.
Oh, Frank, you did good job. Excellent job, Frank. We appreciate you. Okay, so announcements for who's ever left. Teresa Dubois. Okay, Marcus, move over to Teresa Dubois. There she is.
Well, good evening. Thank you, Chairman Nigro. Good evening, commissioners. I don't know if anyone else is left standing other than Rachel and me. But just for the record, my name is Teresa Dubois, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement at Events DC. You guys already know that we operate several venues across DC, and here in or near your neighborhood, we have the historic Carnegie Library at Mount Vernon Square, and of course, the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. So today, I am happy to announce that we are currently taking applications for the first cycle of the fiscal year 2022 $500,000 Events DC Community Grant Program. We're accepting those applications until the August 1st deadline. And this grant program is offered in 2 cycles, $250,000 per cycle. And individual awards range from a minimum of $2,500 up to a maximum of $25,000. The program is available to eligible DC-based nonprofit organizations that work with youth in the areas of sports, cultural arts, or performing arts. Our virtual information sessions, excuse me, began 2 weeks ago and will be held weekly on Thursdays at 12 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. That's where we discuss the application process and the required documentation. So if anyone is interested in learning more about the grant program or to register for an informational session, you can visit our website at eventsdc.com and look under the community tab. Information about the grants program has been sent to all of the ANC 6E commissioners. I hope that you have all of the documents I've been sending out. If not, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm happy to take questions at this time.
So I have a question, but doesn't have to do with the grant. I love the grant program and I tweet about it. Is your first major group coming I don't think it's Comic Con, whatever one of those, is that the first major?
Yes, Otakon.
Otakon, is that am I correct in that? Is that the first one that's going to be kind of like big?
That's our first major event. It's in August. And I'm sorry, I don't have the attendance numbers off the top of my head, but this will be our first more than a few thousand.
Yes. Well, you know, because it's important to my area, as you know, because we are your neighbor. So
that's right. Well, yeah, of course, we'll resume our practice of sending out community advisories before that event takes place.
Okay. Commissioners.
Ms. Teresa.
Ms.
Teresa.
Yes, Commissioner Wiggins.
Yes, good speaking with you. What is the update on the renovation of the convention center? That's still on track, off track because of the pandemic? What's the estimated time of starting that process?
The streetscape construction?
Yes, ma'am.
That's currently underway still, and everything is on track. We pushed it back a little bit because of the pandemic and just not knowing exactly where we would be financially. But our expected completion date is October 2022.
Just next year. Okay. Interesting. Okay, I'm just curious.
I'm hoping to invite all of the commissioners for a tour, basically, of the exterior kiosk and the interior, the new interior retail spaces.
Okay.
I have a date that I won't know if it's approved until tomorrow. And that's really just pending how the work has progressed. So I'm hoping, and if not, I'll say this, tentatively, it's planned for Thursday, July 22nd at 6 o'clock p.m. But I won't know definitely until by end of day tomorrow. And I'll send an email inviting all of you to join us for this walkthrough. So I hope that date works for you all. And if that date doesn't end up working for the project, I'll probably consider sometime in early August, and hopefully you all will be able to make that since you'll be kind of on recess.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioners? No. All right. Any questions from the public for Teresa from the Convention Center? Okay. Thank you for zooming in. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Always good to see you. Oh, and I see Alex Pedro has his hand up. Marcus will move you over, Alex. Maybe we should just stayed on our side. Alex.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to remind everyone, if you haven't already put it on your calendars, that Art All Night is coming back to Shoah on September the 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. until 3 o'clock the following morning. And it will be live. It will not be a virtual festival like it was last year. So we will have dozens of venues throughout Shaw with opportunities for people to enjoy visual and performing arts and even create their own art and even march in the Love Shaw Parade. So artists that are interested in vending, there's no charge for booths. And we do compensate all of the performers and all of the visual artists that participate in the festival. Major funding comes from the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, as well as the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development. And I also wanted to mention that in case people hadn't heard, that DC Water's Northeast Boundary Tunnel project continues apace. And they've actually finished digging the hole. The tunnel has been dug. And the DC Water is providing assistance to businesses that are negatively impacted by the construction. There are 5 businesses that have received grants in the past 3 years. This is the last of 3-year grants that are being received by businesses that are all in Commissioner Lopez's single member district. And there will be one promotional initiative that will be initiated this month. That is, there will be some very large banners celebrating the fact that those 5 businesses are open, that will be attached to the construction fence along Rhode Island Avenue. So watch for some colorful banners promoting those Shaw businesses in ANC 6E02. And I thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you, Alex. Anyone else? Okay, so then we will not be having a meeting in August. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 7th. Whatever format that might be, which is yet to be determined. So we hope to see everyone there on September 7th. So I move that we adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Michael seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, everyone, have a great July and August. We'll be in touch. Everyone, woohoo, stay safe.
Take care. Be safe.
Bye. 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 Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you, Marcus.